but we'll see what happens.
Recording in progress.
You good? Okay. I'm now calling the Tuesday, February 18th, 2025 regular meeting of the Los Altos Hills County Fire District Board of Commissioners to order. The time is 7:22 p.m. Please note, we are conducting a hybrid meeting, which allows staff and members of the public to attend this meeting via teleconference. Let's see, the hybrid meeting will be video record. Well, I guess it's not going to be, we're not going to be video recording.
It is being video recorded.
Okay.
Sorry.
We hope it will be video recorded.
It will be.
Yeah. And, but I want to note something before, as I continue. In the event that there are technical problems that prevent remote public participation, I do have the discretion to continue the meeting without remote public participation options, provided that no board member is participating via teleconference, which they are not. They're all here. I hope that we'll have connectivity for everyone, and that everyone gets to participate the way they can, but that is the way that we will deal with any issues that further restrict our ability to have this wonderful meeting. Okay, we will follow a strict protocol for the benefit of the recording. I'll indicate when commissioners, staff, presenters, and the public will provide comments. If you've called into the meeting and are not using a webcam, please state your name prior to providing your comment, and please practice considerate video conferencing etiquette by muting your line when you're not speaking and limiting distracted behavior on camera. I think muting will be especially important tonight since audio is very cautious and echoey, and we're trying to everyone be very, we appreciate everyone's help for keeping the audio helpful for everybody. District Clerk Vargas, please conduct a roll call.
All right, commissioners, I will be conducting all roll call this evening in the same order. Please remember the order so that you are prepared to provide your comments or vote. President Spreen.
Here.
Vice President McDonald.
Here.
Commissioner Basigi.
Here.
Commissioner Kadambi.
Present.
Commissioner Tonka.
Here.
Commissioner Tyson.
Here.
Commissioner Warren.
Here.
All right, and we have 7 commissioners present. And for the benefit of the recording, I will also conduct a presenters, consultants, and staff roll call. And I don't think, no, we don't have Hiddenville here. Santa Clara County Fire Safe Council CEO Chalet.
Present.
It's
Close enough. Present.
And do we have Santa Clara County Fire Safe Council as the director, Brenner Cannon here? Don't see her. Santa Clara County Fire Safe Council HFR Project Manager Gonzalez.
Here.
And we've got Santa Clara County Fire Safe Council is CEO. Andrea is here. Constantine. I was told you were sick, Andrea. Municipal Resource Group Strategic Planning Consultant Scott.
Here, thank you.
Community Education Risk Reduction Manager Gluhan.
Present.
Emergency Services Manager Beebe.
Here.
Okay, Programs Planning Grants Manager Woods.
Soon.
Thank you. Technical Analyst Project Manager Cronin.
Here.
Is there? Thank you. Project Operations Manager Russell.
Here.
Thank you. General Analyst Georgie. Field Manager Harmon. Technical Data Analyst Martinez.
Here.
Community Events Specialist Sachdeva.
Here.
Thank you. Project Manager Administration Revelar.
Here.
Project Manager Risk Reduction King Rob.
Here.
Finance Manager Moriali.
Here.
Okay. General Manager Logan.
Present.
And Deputy County Counsel Forbat.
Here.
Thank you. Presenters, consultants, and staff are accounted for.
Thank you very much. We'll now move on to item 2, the commission president remarks. So make some notes about tonight's meeting, independent of the technical issues here. Every meeting we have is sometimes a balance between sort of the functional objects we're doing versus the reporting we're getting. And you've seen we've moved to a system where many of the monthly reports are from the consent calendar, so you can see them and look at them, but we don't spend the time in the meeting with them. This is one of our semi-annual presentational meetings where the time is reserved, where staff can put together what's happened over the 6 months and gives us a chance to really dive deep into what we are currently doing, what really is going on. And I want this to be as interactive as possible so that we can get those questions answered, or it's just a chance to celebrate what we're doing. If nothing else, and that's why I hope as many people outside this meeting can also see this, because it's a great way for us to broadcast what we're doing in depth and detail. go in. We have fewer items of direct business to be done, but this meeting is really was prioritized around the semi-annual presentations. Part of that goes into the way General Manager Logan really has the staff running, and you've seen the roughly semi-annual organizational planning sessions. We have the next one coming up. This is listed in the General Manager report, which is in the consent calendar. That's coming up in March. So part of it's scheduled this way, so this gives a chance to wrap up what they've done over 6 months, have that sort of understood and reviewed and talked about going into those planning sessions. So this is all part of really the constant organizational review, and that keeps us on top of everything and keeps us hopefully coherent and doing the right things. I hope that's a proper way to have worded that.
Exactly.
Okay, moving on to item 3, public comment. Persons wishing to address the commission on any subject not on the agenda may do so now. Please note, however, the commission is not able to undertake extended discussion or action tonight on items not on the agenda. Items may be referred to staff for appropriate action, which may include placement on the next available agenda. District policy is to limit public testimony to 3 minutes per speaker unless the number of speakers requires the commission president to impose shorter time limits. Do we have any public comment on items not on the agenda?
Anybody?
And I am not seeing anybody online.
Great, okay. None. Let's see. And just move on to item 4, agenda amendments and changes. Let's see, any comments from staff on changes to the agenda at all? Okay. In that case, we shall continue. Some commissioners, no one wants to change the order of anything? Just want to offer the opportunity. Okay. In that case, we move on to item 5, the consent calendar. Any comments from staff on consent calendar items? Anything need explanation? Great. Any questions from commission on any items on the consent calendar?
We have
Hello, public. I'm getting there. In that case, I will now entertain a motion. The commissioner making the motion and the commissioner seconding the motion, please state your names for the benefit of recording.
Person moves approval.
Tonka seconds.
Thank you very much. Let's see. Any other questions from the commission? Any discussion? In that case, public comment.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Can use this if you'd like.
No,
I'm fine.
Okay, sure.
I would like to comment on 2 items. A, which is the draft minutes, and E, which is the approval of the professional service agreement with financial accounting.
Mhm.
With regards to A, as you know, at the last meeting, I asked the question about improving the search engines.
Mhm.
I understand you're not required to answer my question at the last meeting, but I did request that the commission direct the staff or do something. And I do not see in the budget anywhere additional expenditures for improving the search engine. So I'd like to repeat my question and just tell you that one word was left out. That is, I asked, this was the 4th annual time that I had asked. The question my comments with regards to the 3rd amendment, do you want to respond or?
Why don't you complete your comments, then we'll.
Thank you. And my comments with regards to the 3rd amendment to the professional service agreement is there's $19,000 of optional items. And I would just like to say that I don't think any of those optional items are advisable or necessary to be spent.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
great. Did you want to say something about the search?
Yes, thank you.
Mhm.
I just wanted to mention that the budget does include dollars for a document management system. And the document management system is designed, when it's implemented, to frame into our website, and it will truly have an indexing and searching function. It's a project that's underway, but it will take a while to implement, but that was the intent of the document management system, to frame into the website and allow us a really robust search capability.
So it's in process. It is in the budget.
It's in the budget, but
Yep.
we haven't launched it yet, but it is intended to be.
How long
to
would
be.
it take?
Document management system, the dollars are in there now. I would say it's going to be 6 months, 6 to 9 months to do it properly. In the interim, we've done what we can with the existing system, but there's two amounts in the budget. There's a new website design in the budget, and there's also a document management system to make the search more robust. We would love to get there sooner, but that's where we are right now.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the answer there. Any other public questions from the public on the consent calendar items?
Not seeing any online.
Great. In that case, let's move to a vote.
Okay. President Spreen,
Yes.
Vice President McDonald,
Yes.
Commissioner Basiji,
Yes.
Commissioner Katambi,
Yes.
Commissioner Tonka,
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson,
Yes.
Commissioner Warren.
Yes.
Right, and the motion passes 7-0.
Great. Moving on to item 6, the fire chief report. I think for this item, as you know, they're changing their reporting system in the county, and what we'd like to do is have these items come back next month when they've been switched over to the current system. So we'll be delaying the reporting of January, February and the Fire Station 8 report to next month. That'd be okay for everybody, but that's, you just want to report that out. Let's see. Okay, I guess, did I just steal your comments on
Yes,
this?
that's fine because that was perfect.
Okay, good, thank you. I assume, I see no discussion needed on that. Okay, any public comment on that delay?
Seeing none.
Yes, okay, great. Thank you. Moving on to item 7A. This is our first report on emergency services projects, programs, and events. This will be Emergency Services Manager Bibi and General Analyst Georgie and Community Events Specialist Sachdeva, that's said correctly, providing these reports.
Good evening, President Spreen, Vice President McDonald, and Commissioner, staff, and public. The Emergency Services team is excited to share our accomplishments over the past 6 months with you all. Can you guys hear me on the Zoom world?
Yes.
Thank you. Before we start our semi-annual report update, I'd like to share with you some of the summary of our last 2 months of inclement weather response. Over the past 2 years, we've always been shown that we continue a trend of climate change. With that, it's becoming more trending of atmospheric river events and cold weather. When these events occur, the emergency services team shifts focus from daily operations to coordinated messaging with our partnering agencies and providing situational status reports. Since the last biannual report, we've increased our briefings to include town staff section leads for the emergency operations centers, as well as Purisima water staff. So all of the briefings that the commissioners get, we've started a joint briefing with those 2 other groups as well. So our whole town has some good situational awareness.
Let me pause you just for a second. I should have said this before she even starts. My apologies. I intend for this to be an interactive presentations. We've already talked in preparation of this. So please, if you have questions, go ahead and commissioners speak up and ask questions. We'll save all the public questions to the end of each section, but please feel free to speak up. Don't wait for me to stop and ask for commissioner questions. So we want this to be interactive.
Is Cal Waters involved in that process as well?
Not currently, but will be.
Okay.
Yes. So you can now see here on the slide the number of briefings that were sent out after operational area calls and National Weather Service updates. Town damage was reported out in the weekly under the emergency management reports after each atmospheric river event. It's a new thing you'll see in the weeklies is that we are, I'm gathering reports of damage around the town and giving, I'm not giving specific locations and things like that, but just a general overview of what the public works team is doing after these atmospheric river events. Just know too that on our operational area briefings, Cal Water is involved in those as well. So we do get those reports. I don't have that set up yet with them, but that's coming. There's going to be some other people I'm going to add into the reporting briefings as well. Any other questions before we move on to the next slide? All right. The second layer of these inclement weather responses is notifying and preparing our residents for what's next. So as you can see on these slide shows that as we maneuver through constant National Weather Service updates, and I can very, very safely say they like to their updates in the middle of the night. So I wake up, roll over and look at the NWS updates during these inclement weather events. And then we hop right onto the website to do all the updates. And then Andrea Constantine, who's on this call, is really great at updating our social media right away. Sometimes I don't even have to, like, I'll say, did you? And it's done. So it's been really great. So we work on really targeted messaging. You know, when we had the LA fires, there was a lot of questions that were coming in from the public and residents. And we really sat and thought about what kind of messaging we wanted to give, make sure that our messages are vetted through correct sources, because we obviously don't want to be sending out information that's incorrect. So a lot of our work is doing that. I mean, one post can sometimes take a couple hours because we're really thinking, okay, what's the call to action? What do we want to tell people? So it's all very strategic and targeted. So we then take that information and go through to our website. We'll post things on our website as well as our town weekly and even our district newsletters. So when we do some more reporting out tonight, you'll see some of the stats from some of the things we've amplified. But we really do, I really do appreciate our staff. Our outreach team they pivot so much. Sometimes working at night, early in the morning, and they are really have a great attitude about it, and they're on top of it. So I just want to say we're really lucky to have them around for sure.
I have a question.
Yes.
I get a lot of these questions. Some of it is disaster and some of it is serious. They're like, are our hydrants full? Can you make sure? So it might be worth addressing that too.
Yes, so we actually have discussed that. We are in preparations to put together a wildfire town hall, along with, I think it was actually the request of you as the mayor, talking about a joint coordinated effort. So we actually have started that already, and we're hoping to do that in April. And we're going to be having a big panel of people coming to address those kind of concerns. Yes, thank you. And you're absolutely right. We got a lot of questions about water after that. Now on to the semi-annual report.
I have one quick question with regard to this.
Oh, go ahead, yes.
Since we are in the hills, so the pressure of the water, I think LA had a problem with pressure, especially elevated homes. What is the pressure like in case of an emergency?
So that's what I don't know the answer to that question, but that's something that we're going to be working with Parissima Water on. And when they come to that panel, we're going to ask for questions ahead of time. I'm going to anticipate that's going to be one of the biggest questions we get, as long as alternative water areas and water sources, because that's another big thing that's come up, where we would get those from. So yeah, I definitely think that's going to be something that's going to be a big ticket item when we ask for resident feedback. You guys all agree on that one?
I will say, judging back my memory, years when we did a big analysis of across the entire area of water pressures, George and Mark are most best to answer that.
That's
Yeah.
right. It wasn't just a pressure, it's just flow. It's GPM at 20 PSI.
1,200.
So, yeah, and
gallons per
so
minute.
we're looking at the spacing as well as the flow rates. And so I think
Right.
some areas are higher than others, and I know we're looking to make sure they're all. in the
Yeah,
right standards.
yes.
I think that I seem to call the discovery of that was, actually, I should let Toby speak.
Well, I was just gonna mention the Palisades fire, of their three main reservoirs, one of them was drained and empty and had been for a number of years with waiting for
Rain.
repair and, yeah, so that was a factor as well. And then just the fact that there was so much fire that there was no amount of water that could suppress a fire that high, so,
I mean, the cognizant that could very well happen here.
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I know that when we did the study, the results would show that pretty much every, we set standards at that time to say, what are we expecting, what do we want in terms of flow and pressure, and I think, and we even highlighted areas that were below that and they've been addressed. Many of those areas have been addressed. I'm not sure if all of them, but it really was an effort to make sure that everything has nominally what the fire department wants for that. Now, if you open up every fire hydrant at the same time, who knows, but so that definitely has been a point of emphasis in the past.
Correct me if I'm wrong, the more drive was pretty low, but if I'm not mistaken, it's not corrected. Is that not true? Okay. You mentioned.
More drives Cal Water.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So,
He's right.
right, it was low, and they put in, they have to see Cal Water go through CPUC, where Parissima does not, because of the utilities in which they're regulated. And so Mora Drive had some new pipes put in. They are doing another section of pipes now, and we're in touch with Cal Water to get more information on that. So to not get too far downstream, but these are the kinds of things that we hope to have in the panel.
Yeah, Cal Water will be there.
I have another question.
Sure.
So in the context of the LA fire, they were always talking about containment. The fire is 10% contained, 15%. And I'm assuming that is like they've trenched and they've made it secure so it can't jump. Is there, so in the context of our town, we know fire is going to come from Rancho. can we do containment before, try to make a separation somehow? I don't know if that's possible, but it's worth thinking about now, because we know that's where the fire is gonna come from. The CZO fire is coming from there.
Community strategic fuel break.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
part of that.
So are we doing the entire rancho? And
We're
can-
not doing it. We're asking the
Mid-Penn.
land trust,
Yeah.
the county park and mid-peninsula open space. That's the section you're talking about is leg one of the community strategic fuel break.
Yes, but we've done it at some parts, like for example, I don't see it around Magdalena, that part, I haven't seen anything.
Well, are you talking about the open space or are you talking about the evacuation routes?
No, the open space.
So you're not seeing work on the open space at,
Some, not as,
I thought Mid-Penn
they've
had.
been pretty
They did.
extensive.
Yeah,
but
you
it's
can't see.
grown, it's grown right back.
Well, it's an
Well,
annual
yeah.
thing, yeah.
It's in my opinion, it's impossible you can't pre-predict containment because you don't know where the fire is gonna
Correct.
begin.
Right.
You don't know which direction the wind is gonna blow, how
No,
far
I
the
get
ember
that.
flow is. So the containment kind of comes
Right.
as they're fighting the fire, as they are actually extinguishing and having a completely extinguished area where it is no longer spreading to a
Right.
neighboring area.
I get that, and what they did was, with Pan, they mowed the grass, so there was no grass. But I'm thinking, could you put something else there
They've
that,
actually removed a lot of
more permanent,
vegetation,
more
especially
permanent.
Mora. I've seen they removed.
Mhm.
So the idea is to make a shaded 100 foot.
yes,
It's not naked. It's not a break per se. It's a
yeah,
shaded.
it's not a
field
break, yeah.
But what we're also doing is going along a ridge line, which would be naturally if they came in and fought fire, they'd bring a bulldozer in and they would make a 2 dirt line. And that's what we're kind of loading that so that there's less vegetation to remove in the event that they have to bulldoze an actual fire break line.
And if there's a fire retardant material, like the rubber chips, right? It actually looks pleasant to the eye, but it also retards the fire.
I
Is
don't
there
think they're
anything-
applying anything like that
Nothing
currently.
yet? Yeah.
No, right
So
now.
that's what I meant, if we can preempt it and do it now, the containment now, I mean, I don't know if it's possible, I'm just thinking outside the box, like what else can we do? Obviously, what we've done has not been working, but is there anything else we can do?
Well, I don't know if what we've done hasn't been working.
No, not here. I'm
Oh,
talking about
okay,
LA.
okay.
Yeah, not here.
I was gonna say our strategic,
Yeah.
it's definitely going in the right
No,
direction.
I'm talking about what happened in LA.
I think the other part that's missing is residents that back up to those open spaces need to maintain their property that goes up to that open space, so it doesn't spread from open space to their property, to their home, to the other homes. So that's the other component that we'll look to address also.
My sense has been that Mid-Penn has actually, when the original very ambitious strategic fuel break was thought, like, let's draw a line, and I thought
I
it was
saw
that line,
that,
let's
yeah.
draw a line on the entire thing, which is a very visionary thing to do. That requires Mid-Penn and others get involved, and Mid-Penn seemed to really pick up and be pretty aggressive with it. They have the big bulldozers out there and.
I believe there's an agenda item coming up soon
Yes,
that Mid-Penn's gonna
yes.
be giving an update on that. So you'll get some really specific details around that in their update. It's
Yeah.
just in the calendar.
And
as
I'm
of-
at a hike,
yeah.
I run into them almost every 3 days, somebody going up checking, so they're very vigilant for sure.
And last month, we heard about Hidden Villa becoming our latest firewise, our fire safe.
And they're portion 4 of the strategic community. There's 5 portions. They're portion 4.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm not used to conversations, so let me get myself back into the mode here. I was like, oh, this is such great. Oh, wait,
Oh, yeah.
okay. So we're now on to our semi-annual summary.
Is that Roger in that costume? It looks kind of like him.
We all know our infamous hero, Gracie. Yes. I can't speak about who's inside.
You're pointing
It's a
to the wrong
secret.
person. I'm not gonna say.
We're gonna start with outreach and then we'll have the social media update. Andrea is here, but she's got some speaking laryngitis stuff. So Laura's gonna be reporting for her. So she is here, but she asked to not speak, which or technical things probably would make it hard for someone who's got laryngitis anyway. So Laura, come on up. All right. Speak at your computer. Yep.
All right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to start by highlighting some of our successes in social media. Next slide, please. So our post about the November Teen Cert Academy on Facebook had the highest engagement with 38.6% of our audience interacting with it. This post featured a strong call to action, which was to sign up for the Academy, which is a proven tactic for boosting engagement, and we were really happy that it clearly worked. Our other favorite success story is when we amplified County Fire's hands-only CPR class in November. They were originally struggling with low signups, and then after we posted on social media and in the town weekly, They actually asked us to stop and told us that the class had been filled. Next slide, please. Collecting resident feedback. So in October, we asked for resident feedback on potential class offerings for 2025. This is a bit of an experiment. We distributed a survey through multiple channels as shown here, and this had a potential reach of over 2,000 people. We even sent it out twice to increase participation and give people a second chance to complete it. We received 17 responses. So not everything's a hit on the first try, especially in social media, but we were really surprised by the lukewarm response, and we've been considering how to better solicit feedback in the future. We recently listened to a webinar with a case study featured by Nextdoor, and a waste district had a similar issue that we did, and they found out that doing weekly one-question polls was a more regular cadence, and that residents actually responded to that instead of doing these like big surveys. And so we're considering how to do that while balancing that with other workload, because that can be a project in itself. Next slide, please. So our newsletter, our district newsletter has been getting traction, and we've seen 23% growth over the reporting period, putting us at 182 subscribers. Even more exciting, our open rate is 73% and our click rate is 12%. The top topics from July through December were the Alert SCC sign-up link, the Teen Cert Academy recap video, and the FEMA preparedness video, When the Earth Shakes. We've been striving to find and include credible video clips in more of our communications, and it's great to see the strategy paying off. We also submit content to the town weekly newsletter, which has over 800 subscribers and an open rate as of 78% last fall. As an aside on this, following suggestions from President Spreen and Commissioner Warren, we now regularly highlight district services like our chipping program and monthly drop-off in the weekly and social media. Your feedback was valuable, and we hope that this has been just as helpful to you. Our CERT letter continues to see modest but steady growth with 95 subscribers, a 2% increase, and an open rate of 66.5% with a click rate of 9.3. This is distributed to an internal-only audience, just our CERTs, so we're not expecting dramatic changes, but these numbers do reflect an engaged audience. We dedicate such significant time to these newsletters that we decided to quantify it with a breakdown of the staff hours that go into them. This includes everything from research to production, editing, and then finally distributing it. That's the easy part, hitting send. On average, we spend 12 hours on the CERT newsletter and 14 hours on the district newsletter each month. The town weekly takes the most time, averaging 22 hours per month or about 5.5 hours per week. It fluctuates depending on current events. With its larger scope and wider audience, we look to ensure every detail is effectively communicated and well-researched. The grand total is an average of about 42 hours per month across all newsletters and multiple staff. These hours reflect the effort we put into each piece while still balancing our other priorities. Next slide.
Yes, I've interrupted a question that's maybe off topic. Tell me to come later. Alert SCC, do you have a sense of what is the penetration of Alert SCC? So that's kind of away from the social media aspect, but since you mentioned it there as something that was a top, I'm wondering how much of.
We've gone up. I think we were at 23%. I think the last thing we heard was 28% of the residents here in Altos Hills have signed up. I just got certified to go in and do Alert SCC, so I'm going to go in and get the current number because I can pull it up on the platform. So I'm going to look at that, but we're steadily going up, which is good.
Is that a typical penetration rate? I mean, this is
High. We look good because it's population based.
Okay.
So we're the best out of the whole county, literally the best out of the whole county. I think their entire population in the entire county is like 11% total.
Okay.
It's still not great. I mean, it needs to be 100%.
Exactly.
But we're rising. Yeah.
All right. Oh, no problem. So here we're going to talk about our analytics a little bit. I'll share some highlights from our website. So there's actually been no notable change in visitation, but our top 10 pages have shifted. Calendar, Firewise, About, and Governance are now in the top 10, and they've nudged out Take a Class, the HIZ page, and a few commission meetings. We were especially pleased to see Firewise because this reflects the efforts of the Firewise team and outreach team to promote the program. It's really great to see people looking for that. And then from our WordPress search bar, the top search terms have shifted slightly. Firewise and Annex 4 have replaced HIZ and brush shipping. So we still have really limited analytics that we can get from WordPress on those, but we like to look because it can be helpful. Next slide. So engaging residents through strategic outreach. There's other ways that we try and reach our residents beyond just the website and social. We've continued to participate in local publications, including ads in the Town Crier, and we submit regularly to the Town Quarterly and the Activity Guide. To help us with the ad visuals, we've engaged a design firm to help us that already understands our community, Malt Designs, led by our longtime photographer, Mal Tam. His firm's been helping us refresh and elevate our core materials, such as the 2025 Preparedness Guide that you can see shown on the screens here. And while that was distributed in January, we actually wrapped up production on that in December. Our strategic communications plan, which you've heard me talk about for a while, is both in development and in use. So we've been implementing and refining pieces of it in real time. For example, we've already started using emergency communications templates on our homepage to provide quick and consistent updates during critical weather conditions, as Victoria mentioned. The end of last year represented a significant push on our magazine project as well, as we prepared more than 30 pages of content for handoff to our vendor. We're really eager to go to print near the end of the quarter. We've also been developing a style guide in tandem, which both informs the magazine writing and it complements the strategic communications plan in standardizing the voice and tone of district communications. Now, CERT Program Manager and Community Events Specialist Amita Sachdeva is going to present on district emergency preparedness.
I have a question on this topic.
Yeah.
There's a publication that residents all get. It's this glossy kind of vanity press thing. It's Los Altos Hills, and it's filled with real estate ads and plastic surgeons and stuff. And it's clear that they're anxious to have some content in there. They're always begging for it. So I would just say it would be an easy thing to get something in. You might get a different audience. I don't think it costs anything. And it would be just another way to reach people. I think.
That is wonderful.
Los Altos Hills, I don't know how to find it. I mean, we all get it, don't we?
We all get it.
Yeah. But did I describe it fairly?
Yeah, very nicely.
I think they have the visual in the mind.
Yes.
I can't come up with the name, but I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Most of it goes into the
I'll
recycle.
ask around.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great, thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions? Great,
Mhm.
Frank?
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so over the past 6 months, the district has participated alongside our CERT and teen CERTs in a variety of emergency preparedness events within our community, including the 4th of July Town Parade, the Hoedown, Touch a Truck event, and the Gardner Bullis Emergency Prep presentation. These events are a great way for us to promote district-led programs, provide valuable education, connect with the public, and provide situational awareness and emergency communications. We've focused on increasing participation, enhancing the quality of our training, and incorporating feedback to make each event even better. Our commitment remains the same to building a stronger, more prepared community. And now, Lori. Is that your response?
Yeah, that's all good. All right, next slide, please, Lori. Thank you, Anita. So as I mentioned before, disaster coordination really plays an important vital role within our jurisdiction. As you all know, town staff and district staff have continued to work together and kind of bridging some of the gaps that we had when it comes to disaster coordination. We had our last all hands exercise on Thursday with the town. It went very well. We exercised digital platform for damage assessment through Microsoft Teams. So I'm kind of utilizing these town activities to help us kind of coordinate within our district as well. We don't usually use Teams a lot, so it's a little bit of a learning curve I've been kind of throwing people into. I apologize. But a lot of other EOCs as well as agencies are using Microsoft Teams to do reporting, shared, spreadsheets on incidents. You can set meetings, through it very quickly, do conferences. So there's a lot of good things that we can utilize that license for. That went in partnership alongside county OEM. So we had 2 people from county OEM come, Office of Emergency Management, to help train. We hit all of our objectives. We went through 27 incidents, and I'll do a full AAR that I'll share with you guys. I haven't had quite a time to go through everything yet, but we had the full staff here. The town shut down for that time frame. Well, I shouldn't say shut down. They're available, but they were in here. We set up in here, which was new as well, and we were able to have a common operating picture. So all of these TVs here had a display of what was going on as incidents came in, and we updated those spreadsheets. We also had Edgar Martinez. He has been working on a Esri GIS platform dashboard. So basically, he takes those incidents, he does key points, and he plots them on a map. He's also working on adding in some of the layers. So we've got our PG&E layer figured out now, and we've got a couple other layers that we're throwing on there. So more to come on that, but it was very successful with him being able to plot everything that came up as an incident. And then everyone has gotten their paperwork and things refreshed from the town. So it was great. The certs were the other part of it, which I'm sure Amita will talk about, but the certs did a great job. They were at the fire station. They were working on sort of the same thing that we were, documentation and reporting procedures, and then showing situation awareness on a common operating picture. So we were sharing information with them as well. So we had a full working spreadsheet. So lots of cool, good things coming up, but it was a very, very good exercise. And we'll continue to improve, every time we do these, we come back and look at what we can improve on. Next slide. So I still continue to be very active because I feel like disaster coordination just isn't, talking when there's a disaster, right? There's networking and really making sure that your community that you work with, that, we all give help to each other and support each other. So I've continued to assist with Santa Clara County Fire. That's me teaching a Stop the Bleed class. So we're doing a lot of cert refreshers. Also too, I want to let you guys know the Cert Academy in April is here. It's here at the town.
Good.
So we have our, they'll be here April through May, and I'll be assisting with some of the training as well for them. And then I still continue to assist with the CERT program and help manage the team there, and then a mentorship and planning for the countywide CERT leadership team. So I really try to be involved in that. You never know in a disaster who is going to need help and who we can supply help to, and have someone help us. So very much trying to keep that going as well.
Question, are certs from one town allowed to go work in case of emergency in other towns? Are we all registered in a way it's not?
It's as simple as me saying, oh, you need certs to come to Morgan Hill. Let me ask the disaster council. Disaster council gives approval, and then they can go.
I see. Okay.
That's the right way to do it. But they really are all state.
That's okay.
Disaster work.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, but you try to be, the supervision is where it comes down to.
Sure.
And the approval. Yeah.
Okay, there's no legal aspects to preventing it
Yeah.
happening. Okay.
Yeah. Back to Amita to go over certs and give you an update on that, and then I will close it out.
Okay, so CERT has been doing great work in continuing to improve disaster readiness at the community level. Over the last 6 months, they've conducted multiple back to basic refresher trainings, strengthened their operations procedures, and did a full refresh of our disaster inventory at the fire station, the ARC, the storage unit, and both of our disaster trailers. Our CERT members have also actively participated in public outreach events and had a very successful 2025 planning meeting. Thank you, and back to Victoria.
Question.
Yes.
So I'm curious, and I don't know how to quantify, but in terms of refreshing stuff, what level did you find the stuff needs to be changed in a year, or has it been multiple years? I mean, did half the stuff need to be refreshed, or a tenth of the ARC? I mean, a lot of stuff is will last quite a while, but what'd you find?
Sure. So we had to refresh quite a bit of our inventory in, I would say, in regards to our medical supplies and yeah, our medical supplies pretty much is what we had to refresh, because it's been a few years, and so some of it was expired. So we refreshed all of that pretty much. But for everything else, we just did inventory and made sure that we were up to date in our inventory lists and cleaned up everything.
Gotcha.
it's not a lot of medical supplies.
No.
It's like eye wash, things like that that are.
Iodine,
shot.
eyelash, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, last but not least, Teen Cert. Oh, no, sorry, I forgot about this special surprise. Okay, so I would like, yes, let's all give her a round. So one of the things that I really love about the district is that there's a lot of support in personal growth and development. And I want to recognize Anita. Anita took the CERT program manager class and has now completed her certification. Anita has done so much with our CERT group. I can't tell you, there's a lot of behind the scenes documentation that she's changed and flows and procedures and simplified it so much that our last training with them was a huge success. And that is really in part to Amita's management of them. So I really want to thank her. This will, give her the training and education she needs to continue to expand our program, continue to expand these operational processes, and then also give her an idea of how to start programs. So this is a really good lesson in how to start programs. So she's utilizing what she's learned to put into the Neighbors Helping Neighbors campaign that we're starting. So all of these things add up to really give you that professional education and confidence. So congratulations, Amita, well deserved. Look forward to seeing what you're going to do. All right, last but not least, our teens. So they're leery of coming on a school night, and I told them they didn't have to. I would talk for them. So, and I didn't make them do any reports this time. It's easier for them in August when they have lots of downtime. So this will be me. So what do we accomplish? So they've come out full force to most of our events. There's at least a handful of them at every event. So if you haven't had a chance to come out and meet them, please come out. They're super let's say charming, but they're not always charming, but they're super involved in what they're doing. They take it very, very seriously. So as we reported before, we had the largest Teen Cert Academy on record with 27 students. This next one we're having in March. Well, we already have, I think, 20 kids signed up, and I haven't really even marketed that much. So really excited about that. They created 2 new board positions, wildfire AI chief. There's a student that really likes to do wildfire AI. He's started a company. And then emergency communications lead with our ham guru. And then they've really talked about collaborating with WAI. So they've sat down with WAI. I think you guys remember the wildfire initiative. WAI, Cupertino Wildfire Awareness Initiative. It's the two, I think the girls can introduce themselves at a commission meeting, if I recall. Yeah. So they've really talked about partnering and collaborating. So I'm really proud of them. But here's some pictures of what they've done so far. We're ready to move on to a new board. I'm going to lose some of the kids I've had for 4 years, which is really hard to see, but I'm really happy for them that they're moving on, and they've found really great people to come and take their place. So, as we keep going, they're taking more of the initiative to do things, and I'm really super proud of them. So, our next, hopefully our next report out to you guys will be our successful of our 7th CERT Academy. I think we're on 7. So, that is it for our biannual reports. Thank you, guys.
All right, any comments from the commissioners? All right, let's open up to let's see, any public comments on this, online or off? Let's see. Okay, seeing
My
none.
comment is wow.
Okay.
Okay, let the minutes reflect wow.
Okay, in that case, we will move on to item 7B. Yes. Let's see, that was, yes, 7B. The city's reports on community education and risk reduction programs, projects, and events.
So yes, Commissioner Spreen, or President Spreen, actually, Vice President McDonald, and commissioners, staff, and public, thank you again for this opportunity. Thanks for the support that you've given us. I'm going to give you an update for the community education and risk reduction. We're going to start off with D. King Rob to give an introduction on an upcoming local response area fire hazard severity zone map release. So let's wait. We'll get this.
Yeah, I can't. Zoom is not coming up for some reason.
And the complications continue.
And the complications continue. I'm clicking on it. Maximize, there we go, okay. Just, fun never starts. Okay, hold on, now I need to open up your report, I apologize.
No problem. No, take your time.
It's a
Not to worry.
Which,
a punting evening tonight.
which one are you? You're this one,
Yes.
okay.
All right. And again, DK and Rob will introduce this topic.
Thank you. Good evening, commissioners, staff, and members of the public. Just a brief introduction here. The CAL FIRE Hazard Severity Zone System is a science-based system where severity zones are defined based on vegetation, topography, and weather. Weather includes temperature, humidity, and wind. This system represents the likelihood of an area burning over a 30 to 50-year time period without considering any fuel reduction efforts. CAL FIRE maintains fire hazard severity zone data for the entire state. There are 3 classes of fire hazard severity ratings: moderate, high, and very high. So this first slide shows figure 6 from the 2023 Santa Clara County Community Wildfire Protection Plan, specifically Annex 4 addendum, and we also call it the CWPP. This can be found on our district website. The orange, yellow, and red areas on the map identify the fire hazard severity zones in the state responsibility area, finalized by CAL FIRE's Office of the State Fire Marshal in 2007. No fire hazard severity zones were adopted for the LRA portions of the planning area. The remaining white area within the Los Altos Hills County Fire District planning area shows the local responsibility area. So there are new maps coming from the Office of the State Fire Marshal identifying the moderate, high, and very high fire hazard severity zones in the LRA. The town of Los Altos Hills will be required to adopt the maps, including class severity requirements. This is mandatory after the maps are transmitted by CAL FIRE. There is no longer an option to adopt the new map ordinance on fire hazard severity zones. Next slide, please. CAL FIRE's local responsibility area fire hazard severity zone rollout plan has been staggered into phases by county. Santa Clara County is in the blue section, scheduled for map transmittal on February 24th during phase 2. The day the maps are transmitted starts 2 simultaneous timelines. The first one is 30 days to make the information available to the public and allow for public feedback. The second timeline is 120 days to adopt the new maps. Although the Los Altos Hills County Fire District is not an agency responsible for adopting the new fire hazard severity zone maps, we are working closely with the affected agencies to not only ensure that our resident fuel reduction programs are in alignment, but to also provide education and clear, consistent messaging to the Los Altos Hills residents. The Los Altos Hills County Fire District LRA MAP rollout team is comprised of liaisons to the town of Los Altos Hills, the Santa Clara County Fire Department, and CAL FIRE's Office of the State Fire Marshal. The Santa Clara County Fire Department provides the lead information specialist for the entire county, and our district team will amplify their messaging. More information will be provided after the maps have been transmitted. And this concludes my report.
Questions? Yep.
If I do some quick math, that has a map adoption by the end of August. And I just wonder, given the situation we're in, if we might say, let's aim for something before fire season really starts, as opposed to end of August starts to feel like about in terms of showing our sense of urgency on this.
What can I have you? this map make anything actionable, or is it just simply an informational basically?
Isn't the town gonna have it?
Yeah.
So all of the impact
And
of
it,
the town.
yeah.
The-
I'm
we-
sorry,
we're-
it's just hard to hear from Zoom. But Denise, you're there. You can hear better than I can.
Dee, we're gonna hold the conversation here for a second, so you can just hold there for a second while we sort of
Okay.
finish this up. So I assume it's really gonna come to the town
Yeah.
council
Yes.
as something we have to do.
Okay.
So part of the toolkit that's been given to the town has, that's part of the liaison that Victoria's been doing. And Jay Bradford, thank you. I was gonna call him Bradford, is well aware. We actually had an EPRC meeting, where we talked a little bit about this, on the first Tuesday of this past month. So the town is responsible, they have a model ordinance that CAL FIRE puts out. So they're responsible for adopting the ordinance and the maps. Again, more information will come, but the severity zones, they can't take anybody down in severity. So if someone's a certain severity, that's what they are. They can bring everybody up to that same severity if they want to. Like you could take all the moderates up to a very high requirement, or they can keep it at the model of, and we'll have more slides around this when it rolls out. This is just kind of to have it not be a surprise for you, since it's such a short window to
Okay.
just get public
I
feedback.
appreciate it. I'm gonna do a
Yeah.
little sly
Yeah.
wink to somebody out there.
Yeah.
Say, okay,
We have some we have people who have hub access to things that if you have specific questions, we can, yeah.
So a few years ago, actually, the town had got rid of WE, which was the high risk.
Well, they didn't adopt this map.
Yes, so
Yeah.
maybe this is.
That's what
it's
that,
just
that,
get rid of
yeah,
some
if you
gap.
roll back to that first, could you go back to just the first picture? That is actually that area should have the colors like the yellow in it.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't have it because the map
Right.
wasn't adopted. So that's what you have is a map that says you are in the WUI. That's a
Yeah.
definition of that you are in the WUI by definition, but we didn't adopt the fire severity maps.
Now we have. to-
You don't have an option to
That's
opt
good.
out now.
Yeah. That's good.
The town's very aware and Jay Bradford told me we will be adopted. So
Okay.
I haven't seen any like
Mhm.
pushback at all. It's, yep, we're just waiting for the maps. So.
And in terms of urgency and action based on these maps, that wouldn't happen until next year anyway, when County Fire puts the new letters out and they'll go to the people that are in those severity zones.
You know, the wheels of justice turn slowly, but I do want to create a sense of urgency and certain optics as well.
Well, construction will be one of the big things the town will be addressing in their adoption of their ordinances. So that's, she's speaking to the vegetation management, the defensible space letters and the weed abatement letters.
And I'm assuming this also will affect people's fire insurance. Is that correct?
Yes and no. They already have their own proprietary mapping systems and they're not standardized for insurance companies. This is data that's collected historically over modeling that's been available. So I'm sure they've utilized parts of that in their decision making. So I don't think it'll have as direct effect necessarily because I think it's already kind of happened.
Yeah.
And a lot of what's happened on insurance is just reducing risk and high risk zip codes. Where it's just, we've written too many policies and we just want to cut our percentage of risk. You can have neighbors next door to each other, same insurance company, one gets kept, one gets dropped. So there was kind of a very inconsistent application. So it leads to more confusion, but the majority of the impact of this will be building codes, so around housing element, things like that, super important. Yeah.
Thank you. Eugenia Woods has a comment.
Yeah.
Thank you. I just wanted to retouch on the thing. Perhaps it was Commissioner Tyson. Doing voice recognition here. The timeline gets triggered assuming that the February 24th release happens on time. So the 120 days to adopt the ordinance starts then. So it's going to actually be in June, not all the way into August. So we have those 30 days and the 120 days running simultaneously. So the sense of urgency is definitely built in to get the updates and the new ordinances in place.
So they're on top of each other.
Great, thank you.
So an additional 90 days plus past the public feedback. Easy for me to say.
Okay.
Okay, I can go on the next topic? Okay,
Yep.
that'll be me. Okay, so I have everything lumped in under community education risk reduction. So we'll have HIZ report. We already had the map rollout, although that's a whole staff component we just put into our bucket this evening to give you an introduction to that. Want to show you our newest Firewise map. We have 7 Firewise. The newest one that was recognized was just after the first of the year at Hidden Villa. We also have Sherlock Road has an opened portal on the NFPA for a Firewise. And super exciting, we have meetings coming up in the Region 6 to the western edge. What is next to the Alpine Road, Los Trancos. We have a meeting this Sunday, Ryan and I are going to talk about Firewise. We have a meeting scheduled this Friday down in SCC01. We have talks going on currently in 11, 12, and 31. So those are all the active areas that as soon as they organize and open the portal, they turn yellow. So when they submit a portal application beginning, that's what triggers the yellow, and the green is the recognized, in case you can't see the optics on the legend there. All right, next slide.
No. Oh. Life hates me today. Okay.
So what's some of the things that have happened recently? We had actually the 26th was a neighborhood watch meeting that had already been organized for quite a long time. But we came here on a Sunday, met with residents, and this is where I've had in the past my most traction, is meeting with the neighborhood watch, which is the sheriff giving a presentation. And then I speak to district programs, especially Firewise. But out of the fires out of LA, one of our residents who did lose a home in Southern California very passionately said, I'd like to have a meeting. And we literally, I got to give kudos to Dee, talked to her on a Monday. We had a meeting the next Sunday. So 5 days later, threw together a meeting with approximately 50 something attendees. And the idea is looking at the things that we can do to prepare ourselves to maybe not have the outcome. Part of the reason the passion happened, there was an article that was written by Dr. Ware, I believe originally in 2019. He's a Stanford professor. He noted 3 communities of high dollar value loss potential. One of them was Pacific Palisades. Another one was Marinda Oraga and Los Altos Hills. So a lot of people were very, nervous system stimulated by that, and wanted to have some more information. And as Victoria mentioned already, we're looking at a town hall possibly.
I've heard that statistic, and I always heard that it was the highest risk, but I heard it was the highest dollar
Value. Yeah.
That's a whole different thing.
Dollar value, not the risk in vegetation, but in dollar value loss.
Okay.
And Pacific Palisades, Marinda Oraga, and Los Altos Hills, because of the cost of real estate. So one house loss here versus up in the Sierras, kind of the comparison. So again, we had that meeting. She shared photos. You can see a before and after of her home. And again, the uniqueness, we talked about I always mention to people, you talk about what embers can do. You talk about a boat in Lahaina Bay catching fire, an ember can go to that boat, catch it in the water on fire. Her house had 0 vegetation around it, was made out of non-combustible. Every house on the road, her house was burned. They were along Pacific Coast Highway, and there was no vegetation. So, there is a component of a weather event, which is what Southern California was one weather event after another with unseasonably low fuel moisture, so no rain. So that was kind of the perfect setup to, again, have those. And those are all the common red flag we talk about, the common factors when you have that house-to-house combustion starting to happen. Yes.
Seth has his hand raised.
Oh, yeah. Seth,
Is it still up?
Yes.
Well, it should be down. My apologies. So I will say that, so Michael Warrer was the professor that was involved in the article that was published that you're talking about. And I know Michael, and I had a call with him and Dave, the former fire chief of Moraga and Orinda. And long story short, there was some misquoting that the Chronicle did around the specifics of that. And so, potentially it might be good to see if Michael would be available for any town hall meetings. And if he's not available, maybe provide a little bit of a write-up. so that we can eliminate any confusion about what was in the article and what people think it meant. But he was misquoted in some respects by the Chronicle reporter.
Thank you, Seth. And that was something that we brought up to residents and again, the comparison of dollar value versus, we don't have the fire history of the seasonal winds either. We don't get Santa Anas every multiple times a year, Santa Ana in Southern California. So again, we don't have that seasonal wind component. They do have more of that up in the Northern Bay with some of their seasonal or phone winds. So, and this is one of the meetings that we did out of that request of getting residents together and talking about what are some of the things that can be done. And again, the only thing we really can control is vegetation. We can't control the topography. We live where we live. We can't control the weather. We can control the vegetation. So that's what our programs focus on. Next slide. So I'm going to be retiring this map after this presentation with all the arrows because it's getting pretty wild now. And actually the area of SCC 001 is new as of today as far as a meeting. So you see here what we have. We have the 7 established recognized communities. The dates, you can see the dates we did since I believe our last slides, I believe only Natoma and Hidden Villa have done in the last 6 months. But if we continue supporting the residents, we may have 5 new Firewises this year. My goal was to do 4 a year. So we'll be over half if we get that done. So again, the areas that are in white are the ones that we don't have a lot of relationships yet. So if you know people, let me know. Next slide.
Question.
Yes.
One metrics that you track is the number of Firewise communities that you established.
Yeah. Another
metrics that potentially you should measure is a percentage of participation in each one of them.
You are perfect. You are you know what? The $20, the $20 that I gave you, George, you can give to him because he got to it before you did. Yeah. Now again, but I will be retiring this and using that first map that you saw more because it's just too busy now. So next one, and I don't know if it's the next slide, but it's this is just comparing the August and the February. Again, it's gotten too busy, but I just wanted to do it one last time. It will be, and you see that it's Old Alpine Road, Los Trancos area is now superimposed on there because we have a really active group of people we're meeting with. Again, on this Sunday, Ryan and I are going up there. Good. So, and that's been a point that's been brought up at several meetings. So we're working on getting all that going. And they actually came early to that February 2nd meeting. We had a pre-meeting before that event with them in the back room here and talked to them and kind of warmed up to the things that we could do as a district for them. So next slide. I think this might have the statistics that not yet. It's in here. We're not quite there yet. I couldn't remember the order, but it is in here. Again, my goals, or our goals, again, Dee's support page, everybody, the outreach that's happening from the outreach team. It's my goal is to get all of that map green so that if there's any process that needs a Firewise in place, it's there. One of the biggest complaints you'll get from the residents is the apathy of participation. They just don't have enough people, and we're going to bring that slide up. But again, this is a long game. This isn't a 1-year game. This is a 5-year game and beyond. This is a keep it going. But I want to have some kind of organization all on this map. So if there are government programs that utilize Firewise, like in the Safer from Wildfires, we can have those people in place. We're not going to be building it up and taking that time. So again, I hold twice monthly meetings. We talk about all the different programs that we do and the different projects. We work on getting the newsletter to people to sign up for that. So how do we move messages forward? We're having a really good success through our Firewise communities. Next slide. So some of the things we have coming up in the next couple of months, again, this is flipping back and forth between 6 months and 1 month. So we do have the office hour meetings. If you ever want to join in, you're welcome to. First Wednesday at 5:30, second Tuesday at 7 p.m. We also have on the 19th, the annual HOA meeting. We actually are speaking this year, and there is a representative from Cal Water that's going to be talking about improvements to a tank for a gravity fed system improvement. So if you want to pop into here a little bit about that. He's going to be at that meeting also. And then we have the second annual, since we had our first event last year, was the National Wildfire Community Preparedness Day, and that'll be on March 3rd, so save the date. Very similar format to last year, except we will be doing a hybrid presentation, an in-person and hybrid. There will be lunch. It will be 10 to 3 and more details to follow. Next slide. So here's the one that kind of alluded to the participation. So this was actually on the left collected by one of our Firewise leadership residents. They did an internal survey amongst their group of people, and this is the feedback. I want you to note Saddle Mountain was our first community. And again, these vary in size. Our largest one is Fremont Hills, has 560. So their participation goals are going to be more challenging than someone who has 107 like Saddle Mountain. But again, the long haul, they've been a community for 3 years and they're getting towards 43%. It takes time to we're trying to get street managers, so we can break up the workload, things like that. But again, these are the initial people that started, because most of these on here have only been in existence for not even 1 year yet. So that's why you see the single digit participation. Yeah.
I'm actually surprised that the level of 5 is 43%, because I live in that. My family is a member of that.
Yeah.
There are multiple courts up and down Page Mill Road that are not members, and I've tried my level best to get them.
Yeah.
My suggestion is that may be measuring the core of the Saddle Mountain as opposed to the whole area.
Yeah, that's who they have contact with. So they have an email address, they have something. They may not be doing anything, but they have contact with them versus not having contact at all. And the newer ones.
So if you were to look at it at a global level, that number drops to 5%.
As far as people participating?
Yeah.
And that may be the case, and that's going to be something that we have to continue to encourage, and that's, we hope these fires and the rebates, the HIZ, which Paige will talk about, we hope that some of that incentivizes people. But yeah, I mean, it's an educational tool. So it just tells people, here's a place to get more information. This is what we'd like to tell you, what we have available. I just wanted to pull some statistics. Again, we only have a couple of communities that did renewals this year, which are the first 2 communities. But I just wanted, these came directly off the NFPA Firewise portal. So it just shows you, and these are probably underestimated, but you're talking about how much participation. These are dollars and hours that if we didn't have Firewise communities wouldn't be happening. So that is the difference. So everything you see on the right there, if we didn't have Firewise communities, they would be very much reduced. So again, it's small, and I hope to have this grow every single year. I really push. One of the responsibilities of being an active Firewise participating member is to turn your hours, your dollars into your leadership. So that's how it gets reported on the annual renewals. On the bottom section, this was just their recognition. So it's just their application phase. They haven't renewed on the bottom section yet. Yeah.
How does Saddle Mountain get almost $660,000 of risk reduction investments?
Someone puts a metal roof on their house.
Oh, okay.
And they get to count that as home hardening.
I see.
Pardon that.
Yeah.
Big part in dollars.
Yeah, everybody who puts in money, so any kind of home hardening that's towards wildfire preparedness, which is, roof is the number one lean into that residents can do if they don't have a non-combustible roof.
Right.
Or rated roof.
Yep.
Yeah.
I see.
So that gets to count. Loma Wood is going to have $1.5 million because someone's doing a whole remodel and is doing it at a home hardened. Yeah, so something like that, but they have a large remodel.
That's my zone, so you can.
Yeah.
Take it for me.
So again, I just wanted to start getting some real metrics that kind of talk impact. State has metrics, but I wanted to break down what Los Altos Hills looks like. Next slide.
I have a
I'm sorry. Yeah, Joe.
So I don't know if the people outside can hear me, but this was the aha slide for me of the whole night. And I had no idea. Looking at the maps before, I thought, wow, we're really filling in. I had no idea that we had some that were counting that are 3%, and it worries me. And so I just want to say that I think our areas look way too large to have a community that would get engaged. When I became a neighborhood watch captain, I chose what I thought was a consistent neighborhood. It's 26 properties, and I have something like 70% participation. I can't get everybody.
Yeah.
But that's what it took.
Yeah.
Next, can you go next door and all this? It takes that hands-on thing. Because I feel like this is getting us a nice coverage on a map, but I don't feel good about 560 structures with 3%.
Yeah, and-
So
yeah.
let me just finish.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I want to say as an overall comment is I really appreciate how hard it is to get this done. And my experience with Silicon Valley Clean Energy sounds so familiar that we are pushing to get people to bend the carbon curve and change behavior. And it didn't take very many staff to put in the infrastructure to have clean energy, but it takes a lot to change people and put in the water heater and all that. So I really appreciate what you're doing. It's the heavy lifting. We're starting with the road, the defensible fuel breaks and all of this, but now this is the hard stuff. This is where the staff, it takes a lot of time. It's a real resource. And I appreciate the efforts that are involved here. And so I just want to come back to this to say, this last month at Silicon Valley Clean Energy, we saw for the first time an uptick in the actual, the couple of years of frustration, like we're only getting 10 a year of water, that it's starting to turn. And it's very exciting. And I want to get to that point here. And I feel like we're not that far away. And so a way to do that. And so I talked to Commissioner Basigi a little earlier about the HIZ thing, and we'll get to that. I don't want to jump the gun on that, but I just want to say applaud your work. But I think we got to dial it up to get those numbers. And perhaps one of the answers is smaller zones that are better run and perhaps maybe more strategically focused on our real risk areas.
Yeah, and that's exactly one of the things that we've talked about. It is a heavy lift to get through the application process. CAL FIRE, it's 800 to 2,500 homes that they'll allow, or actually NFPA. CAL FIRE is the state oversight, and 500 is their sweet spot. CAL FIRE does not really want anybody over 500 without a really good management plan in place. So we have talked about possibly dividing down in the future. But right now, getting people started was the important thing. And again, even if it's only single digit participation, getting them started, we may go down. But again, it's really hard to get a FireWise community going. And Paige can speak to that personally. She's doing it in her community. People are busy. To ask them to take that time to do that initial lift. If we can support that initial lift and help them with recruitment, with getting, whether it's street managers, whatever kind of program, maybe the neighbor helping neighbor will help us also, get some more connection. So there's a lot of support we can do. But again, the thing is that they manage their own communities. We support them, so.
Let me ask you.
Yeah.
My group of 26 homes, okay? Like if I find somebody else, because I can't be in charge of everything.
Yes.
Find somebody else to do the code with me.
Yeah.
That'd be okay. in
Yeah,
terms
and some
what
of
you're
our
saying?
communities, even though I show you a big participating area, they are smaller.
Okay.
So some of them decided to do some Saddle Mountain, when they started small. They've expanded out. I drew the boundaries bigger because those people are all considered participating, so they all vetted in because of that person's heavy lift of getting them recognized. Even though they're not participating yet, we just need to get them on board and participate. But yeah, we can definitely start with a small group. And then I talk you into maybe expanding out. Right now, the Sherlock Road is I think it's only about 10 people on Sherlock Road.
Okay.
So I've already asked them if they can include Tanglewood because I have somebody that's, but anyhow.
Okay, you'll hear from me.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. I have people. Yes.
Question.
Yeah.
A lot of residents here are retirees, and the labor costs have gone significantly up. And then there are several trees that need to be trimmed, and I know there are rebates and things like that the LA with the Santa Clara County as well as the Fire Commission Department, they offer like in partnership. It would be beneficial to kind of advertise or maybe even put it in clarity, in perspective that, if you kind of took advantage of this, I don't know how you can, maybe you're the best person to tell us how you could make it even simpler so people are motivated that, that onus of, trimming all that trees, the expense and, all those things don't fall on their head, and it simplifies their decision making.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's available for incentivizing financially other than our HIZ rebate.
Right.
That program, which Paige will talk about in a minute. I don't know if any other programs are available unless you're SNAP, which is a low income. There really isn't any other programs right now. So either an entity comes in and removes that tree for you because it's the town, it's in a pathway, but there isn't right now a mechanism. We are very on trees specifically.
Correct.
We have very many limitations. And even with our rebate, you know, you have to use a contractor, you have to take pictures, you have to submit receipts to get pretty menial reimbursement. It is a lot of work, you know, some of it's work that you'll do yourself.
Right.
So I don't know where the sweet spot is yet, but I think the educational tool is the first start.
And that could be a deterrent, you know, because a lot of people are older people who've lived here and they don't have infinite.
They're more property rich and
yes, cash.
yeah,
I mean, house
cash
rich
poor.
and cash poor.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, we do have that program. We've tried to utilize it a few times for those situations, and we've never actually had success with asking the documentation that we need. They wouldn't provide the documentation to qualify under the low income. So there is no cost on the educational piece. The home ignition zone assessment is free. You know, the work is, you know, where, you know, you have to decide. And right now, again, it's only a 1.5 year old program, not even a 1.5 year old yet, the rebate. So, you know, we look at maybe making it better, you know, as time goes on. This, let's wait for Paige's report because I don't want to steal thunder, but there's a lot of action going on in that, a lot of improvements.
Just like when the LA fires happened, the cost of, you know, rebuilding the whole thing is going to be way more than whatever, you know, the
And
rebate.
looks significantly different.
Yes, so prevention and an ounce of prevention is worth, you know, more than a pound of cure, right?
Yeah, and I will tell you, one of the big lean-ins that we've always told people is they have to remove the vegetation in the 0 to 5 to be like the A student with the maximum benefit for embers not landing next to your house. The fire science is new,
Right.
saying that's the, you know, the two risks. Flame was the 30 feet. The heat flame is 30 feet, defensible space. The embers are the 0 to 5. And everybody went, no, dug their heels in and said, these are my favorite roses from my grandmother. I can't take them out. Well, you have lenses like the home that I described in Malibu that had no vegetation around it and it's still burned with steel girders. So again, where do you shift that paradigm emotionally that you're willing to look at that change? You know, that you're willing to look out your window and you still see a beautiful landscape, but when you walk up, it looks different.
Right.
So, and we're talking about other programs that we can flex into. We don't do any home hardening right now either. We just do vegetation. So we're looking at other things that we may be able to increase participation and facilitate a thing that's not removing trees, but still incentivizes people to take action.
Right.
So thank you.
There's a huge cultural shift has to happen. I mean, literally from only 20 years ago when I built my house, it was everything I went through was save every tree you can. And it was, and when we got someone to landscape it, they put all this stuff right up against
Sunset Garden.
Right up against it. It was beautiful, you know, and that's what we did. So it's taken a long time to move away from the save every tree paradigm. I literally built my house around a tree.
Even the energy, right? Like you have a large tree right on top of your roof, it cools and, you know, it keeps the energy. So people encouraged you to do all this and time has passed, like you said. And you have all these beautiful, you know, flora and foliage.
And it's still hard to cut a tree down. You have to go through permits. You have to, I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff that still needs to happen. You know, alignments of regulations, all those things. But, you know, again, let's plan for the year, you know, let's plan this year, but let's look at the 5-year plan and trying to get to those goals. So, yeah. All right, next slide. Sorry. I didn't think it would get that much. So again, we're trying to do some new things and Paige has just been a champion about diving in and finding out. We've shifted, I'm not going to take her thunder away, but we've shifted and we're using the Fireside tool and we're using the metrics that are available in it. So one of the things we're playing around with is heat map. We had a little bit of heat map last year that I showed. And the correlation that I want you to kind of pick up, it's where the Firewise communities, that's where the message is getting out. This is talking specifically around HIZ participation. So we're really still having, except for a little anomaly down in the Loyola area, mostly the message is getting out in the Firewise communities. That's where our participation is happening. We're trying to pull this tool in some more and see what we can do with it, but she literally just had this past week or so to figure out how to use it and get comfortable while she's doing inspections and pivoting to take care of the issue that she'll talk about in a little bit of participation. The next slide. So again, this is just kind of giving you quantities in polygons. So we just kind of drew polygons kind of around the whole area, and you can see where the participation. And I really want you to notice on this western edge, north and western edge, where we talked about the open space earlier. That's where that's our biggest risk. I can tell you that. That's our biggest risk, and that's part of our lowest participation. So again, targeting messaging, how do we do that? How do we get into those areas? I will say we get Firewise in there. They will help. It's not the best and only answer, but it will help because we send mailers out. We send all kinds of publications, social media, and, again, getting that messaging, the traction is always a challenge. So next slide. I will tell you, we don't have to go back, but a funny thing is we did the pilot program for Ranch in San Antonio 2 years ago, and we had almost zero participation, not zero, but it was single digit participation on the rebate program, HIZN rebate. We happened to get about 20 something signups, 20 or 30 signups down in that area with the recent fires. So again, what gets people to register and get something done? So I just tying in the strategic fuel break and again, some of our goals. Data integration, super important. We're trying to do some of that with the Fireside tool with some of that data that I showed you on participation and total Firewise metrics. Again, what other programs we talked a little earlier about? We're actually getting the comments from Mid-Peninsula Open Space that we need the residents to now work on the backsides of their properties. Well, we don't have a program for that right now to encourage that because the HIZ only focuses on the 100 feet of defensible space around the home. It doesn't necessarily reach to the back of the property if it's 5 acres back. So again, maybe thinking about programs around that to targeted areas, the 280, supplementing the 280 along the houses that are along there. So again, what are we doing? We're also using our data to how do we, feed in more data from data. So HIZs, we let them know that we're planning on letting them know if they're in a Firewise community. Once they get the HIZ completed, we'll look at where they're at. If they're in one, we're going to allow them, if they'd like to get connected with their leadership there. So we're subtly taking some recruitment tools that way. Just saying we're letting them opt in, but saying, hey, you have a Firewise community. Would you like to know how to join it? So again, utilizing what we're doing.
So just a quick question.
Yeah.
The other day I had some PG&E people came coming home and then they came and trimmed all the, branches that were near the.
In the power lines?
Yeah, the power lines. So I just wanted to know, do we have a partnership with PG&E, or is there something that?
No, that's a contract that they have with us. It's usually Davy Tree, but they subcontract out to other people. And that's specifically just to trim around the tree. In fact, in our evacuation routes, that's higher up than our evacuation route scope even goes. We go to 14 to 16 feet on the evacuation route because that's the length of pole saws, equipment. That's specifically taller than usually where the power lines run. So that's a completely separate program. In a perfect world, we would love for that work to get done at the same time we do an evacuation route hardening. Creek work done, all of those entities being together to regionalize all those entities at the same time. That would be the best scale to use. We're already stopping traffic, so let's get it all done. But unfortunately, we're not quite there yet. PG&E is very independent on they're a multi-million-dollar corporation.
The Eaton fires, they say it was part of, a utility company. So, thinking about communities that were burned, this would be an option to just, collaborate with them to see, it'll be a win-win situation for them too, in looking ahead.
One thing I'll add is since I have a power line on my property, and so they don't, from my understanding, is they don't just clear everything on power lines. In fact, this time they actually came back. They actually can now sense where there's been contact, and they go back there and clean those specific points of contact. So it's not like evacuations, we're trying to make a whole channel. They're just going to where they're seeing potential initiation spots that have actually hit trees. So.
And then just a part of that is the public power safety shutoffs, the PSPS. That's on those red flag wind event days. That's when you'll start hearing outreach telling you that there's a possibility that your power is going to be shut off because of the potential of arcing lines in vegetation and things like that. So again, perfect world, we would coordinate all that. We are still working to that. I don't know if PG&E will come to the table. We're willing to work with them, but I'm just not sure they just kind of plan their stuff out as they do, and I don't know if they're willing to, kind of slow down or speed up according to our needs, but we do reach out, so, yeah.
Thanks.
All right, next slide. I think I'm getting close to pages. So again, not much on this. It's our 19th year. We began in 2006 to have those goats come. Gracie is going to have her compadres coming into Los Altos Hills again. Should be around Mother's Day, first kind of week or so, end of April, beginning of May. And again, we'll work on getting more data accumulated from drone pre and post flights. So more to come on that, but I just wanted to, one of the goals of Hidden Villa, especially being in their Firewise goals, is to decrease their vegetation through also herbivory treatments like goats. So we're looking to maybe get possibly the goats to move over there for a little bit when they're done here, because they're literally across the street at one point. So maybe we can work out something where they can move along into another treatment area before they leave Los Altos Hills. So again, this is just last year's pictures because they haven't come yet since last report in August. Next slide. One of the other things that are recently, and the only real action item is up in the top corner there, I'm going to be working with the outreach team and putting the addition of really just resources that are already in place, but just a culling place to hold them all about riparian areas. That's still one of our big commented areas about being a fire risk. And they're one of the most heavily regulated pieces of land that you can try to do vegetation management on. So again, what we can do, what we can't do, these are the creeks that are in Los Altos Hills. And again, we'll set up on our website a page that people can go to and get this information in one stop, because that way we can direct them onto our website for more information. But at this point, we don't have we don't have the responsibility to keep those up. It's the water districts and the entities. So again, working on a map of who those are so the residents can reach out to those agencies to maybe get their questions answered better than we can do by just giving them an information sheet here. This actually comes out of the Los Altos Town Waterway and Riparian information that was developed by the Water District. Next slide. I think. And I'm going to pass it on to Paige. That's okay. It went too fast, but it basically is going to talk a little bit about the defensible space letters that were mailed out. And so I will roll over to Paige unless I have any questions on those last couple of subjects.
I appreciate us not being in the newspaper like Los Altos.
Yeah.
They had a big stink about their process.
Yeah. And riparian areas are always a huge I know they
Weed abatement.
the weed abate. Oh, yeah.
I think it's worth pointing out that really our staff has converted what's always been sort of a weird punitive thing for us into we're coming on behind, making sure that the people are taken care of. And that's really innovative from the staff, and they've made that happen. And it's made our life easier and certainly fewer complaints.
So I'm going to let Paige share her slides now, Corey, if you want to bump over to Paige's. That's still the end of me. Oh, okay.
You were there.
Yeah.
Just one more?
One more. Okay.
Please, thank you.
I forgot she combined them all.
Well, good evening, everyone. This has been a really fun discussion, very lively, exciting. There's been so many points that I'm like, oh, I can't wait to talk about that, or outreach. There's so many, this all comes together. So tonight I'm going to talk, do a back one. Tonight I'm going to talk about two items. One is Santa Clara County Fire Department inspections that they do on the WUI properties, anyone that's in the designated WUI. And we're going to talk about where they are in that process, their letters that they've sent out. I'm also going to talk about the HIZ program, which is an assessment program, education-based program. So first we'll start with the next slide, which is going to be Santa Clara County's their WUI letters. They just sent those out on February 14th. Those go out to everyone, as I mentioned, that were in the designated WUI from the prior maps. So not the new maps. Those have not been adopted, obviously, and published. So there were 202,492 properties that were in the fire district, Los Altos Hills, and they're required to adhere to a 30-foot property defensible space. And then there were approximately 25 in the state responsibility area, and they are required to adopt the 100-foot zone, but that's CAL FIRE is the ones that would do those inspections. So, but in both cases, those go out, and what they do is they tell residents this is what you're responsible for to follow. This is the time when the inspections begin. And this is what happens if you don't comply, which is you would be referred to the weed abatement program. So it goes through that whole process. And it also, because we've been collaborating so well with County Fire, they also gave us a shout out to our programs so that, you know, they are serving the entire county. And so they're making these letters, you know, they're trying to be as generic as they can, but they make special letters for us. So that's all I have on that. If I can go to the next slide, please. So compliance efforts. There is a process. Once those inspections begin, if the residents are not compliant with any one of those items, they leave a door hanger. The infraction will be noted, and then a follow-up inspection will also be set at that time. We'll come back in 2 weeks. And if they don't have that opportunity to interact with the resident, it would be on the door hanger. And then there's also opportunities for the resident to reach out and ask for a follow-up inspection. And then lastly, they would receive letters telling them that they're not compliant and that they're going to be put on the list. They can be re-inspected, and they are also then given, if they're still not compliant, they get another letter that tells them this is when the hearing is. So there's basically two hearings. There's the May hearing where the first list comes out, and usually County Fire goes out and they re-inspect and they find that people they comply. That helps. And so that list in June that goes forward to the weed abatement program, that list is usually reduced. So any questions about WUI?
Are you expecting next year that will the WUI area increase significantly when they come out with the new maps?
I think we are anticipating that. Yeah. Yes.
I don't know if the WUI area, but the severities might increase. I think the WUI will stay pretty much the same. They are using County Fire better mapping tools to define whether a property is truly WUI or not, because there were some that were urban and not WUI that were included. So it could actually maybe it's already actually gone down a teeny bit, just by a few houses, not a lot.
And that was more of a subjective call on their end. But these maps, once that property is in the WUI, it's in the WUI. So there's no, negotiating that. All right, great. So if there's no more questions on that, I'll move on to HIZ. And I will tell you, HIZ has been very exciting. I'm very excited to report some progress here. So next slide, please. So I usually start with the metrics. I actually want to start with the people. And I just want to thank the team. Denise and Dee have been so instrumental. We made a big change, and we were planning on doing some pretty big outreach in February. The program has been slow to develop just based on staffing. And we wanted to make sure that we didn't increase our outreach or how many we could actually serve until we had the staffing. So 2 of us went to Reno and we took the NFPA sponsored 3-day class, and we're trained so that we can conduct the HIZs. We had a number of staff also that already had that training. So in anticipation of that outreach that we were going to do in February, we did that training so that we could learn how to use the DSI tool, our defensible space inspection tool, the iPad. And that was in October. And we thought, okay, great, we're ready for February. And then the fires happened. And all of a sudden we had huge interest, 100 requests in January.
Wow.
And just to give you kind of an idea, we had in the entire span of the program to date, 150 requests. So 100 in 2 weeks was unprecedented, to say the least. So we had just decided, we need to collaborate more with the Fire Safe Council, learn the admin side of the product. And on January 6th, we just saw that for the first time. We started doing some training. And then we were just thrown to the wolves. And I will say it was fantastic, actually, because we learned so much so quickly. There were probably 1,259 pivots. I should never come up with a decision before I go on a hike, because I would go on a hike and I'd come back and be like, you know what, we should actually do this. I'm so sorry. I just had this epiphany. So anyway, these are the things that we made in, I'd say, a month time span, some of the improvements. So like I said, we had our 4 district employees that are engaging with residents, Denise, Ryan, Harmon, and I. And so when we go out there, we actually get to see what's working. We get to interact with the residents. We get to tell them about all of our other programs. We get to tell them if there's a Firewise community. All those things that we're all very excited about, and it all dovetails together. And so we get to see, you know, how people are feeling about the program. And I will tell you, because I have done this in my own neighborhood, and I can see, you know, the negotiations of like, well, what if I do this or what if I do that, especially the 0 to 5 zone. That's not happening. I've done 14 inspections this since we've had this big uptick. And everybody's just like, well, you know what, if that's what you're saying we got to do, that's what we got to do. I have been really blown away and very impressed with that. People walked in the rain with me as well. We had some improvements to scheduling efficiency. So now we have a common operating platform so that we can all see the same platform. Like I said, that's enhanced better collaboration and technology utilization. And then lastly, because we overlaid our Firewise zones onto the map in that platform, we can really see where, like Denise is saying, where that interest is coming from. But we can even, I think even more important to that, to everything we've been talking about, we can take a zone and we can say, let's send a postcard to everyone in this zone and tell them this is the person that is running your program. Or, you know, did you know there's a Firewise program in your community? So, and the targeting could be, you know, even we notice when we start to see the opportunities, for example, fences attached to structures, we can target that, you know, depending on what we're seeing in different areas. So that's super exciting. So let's talk metrics. Next slide, please. Okay, so there's that huge uptick, and you kind of, I mean, it really puts it into perspective. We had 125 HIZs requested during that semi-annual time period. So that's that's August 1st through January 31st. And 26 assessments were conducted. So you can see we did not have time to actually pivot quick enough to get a bunch of assessments scheduled in January. My next slide will show you how we responded and how, you know, up to date, up to the 14th. So 10 rebates were processed during the 6-month period, $23,000. Next slide, please. So meeting the demand requests so far in 2025, 116. We've actually completed 33 as of today. But as of the 14th, it was 26. We've scheduled 40. Scheduling is in and of itself a challenge. I mean, not a challenge, but it just takes time, you know, back and forth and trying to find a good time. And then unscheduled at this point, 50. All right, next slide, please. I like to also show you just the lifetime scale of the program. So early 2023 to current January 31st, 252 total inspection requests. But remember, 101 of those is from January. So again, that shows you that scale of how big a deal this is. And we have conducted 147, and like I said, 100. And then lifetime rebates, 33 total rebates processed, $77,000 have been paid out.
How many of those, excuse me, how many of those have work that far exceeds $3,000?
I don't have an exact number, but a number of them do. Yeah. Yeah.
I actually spent 6,000 to get the 3,000.
Right.
They spent 6,000 to get the 3,000.
Yeah, with
With
the
matching funds.
Oh, right.
But I know what you mean, like, but they go beyond,
Yeah.
they spend more than $6,000. Yeah. And we don't even know, because a lot of times they're not gonna put the home hardening items on that bill, on that invoice. You know, if they do home hardening or they're actually investing their own money. in other
Well, you can double the 77 to what they spent minimum to get the 77 to happen. So.
All right, next slide.
First,
Oh, yeah.
earlier comment about people with limited means and how do they
Yeah.
make it happen?
Yeah, if they're willing to do a little bit of bookkeeping and whatnot with it, that's the, you know, the matching funds is there. Again, it is matching, it's not straight funds, but it's a starting place.
And a really great use of, going back to the trees, is, you know, we're not advocating people getting rid of trees. Trees are not the main problem if they're healthy. They do provide shade. They're great. So we're not asking people to raise the earth here. But maintaining is very expensive. Tree work, period. You just put tree, it's very expensive. So that is eligible if it's within the 100 feet.
True, and
You can
also
limb
dead
up.
trees.
Dead trees we cannot remove.
We can't do removal.
Yeah, no tree removal, but we can limb up and we can get rid of the dead limbs.
HIZ assessment says, hey, you got a dead tree there, you should have it removed. Does the cost of that potentially go rebate? Is it rebatable? It's not, or okay.
No.
But those are high ignition things, the dead trees.
It's just our management audit is limited. There's just, that's one of the things we're still at this point, just gonna be limited. They can take all the branches off. But we can't actually, tree removal cannot be in the verbiage of the rebate.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Good questions. Yeah.
Another question. Do you track at all like how people found out about the ones who of the people who requested, how they found out?
Not yet, but we should. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
And again, just to give the credit that she and the team here behind me deserve that pivot. I mean, an HIZ to get one on, it's at least an hour to just do it. It's probably another at least half hour at least to get it scheduled in the back and forths, you know, and then there's the, you know, the inputting the data and the follow-up. So there's a lot of time. It's a labor intensive tool. But again, once that's done, to each unique person that gets an HIZ, that educational tool is not really going to change. Yes, the vegetation is going to grow back, but it's pretty much going to stay the same. So that's a lifetime for that house, and it's some great documentation. And then if they're double documenting on the Firewise, they've got a lot of information they can document and show to their insurance carrier that they've, you know, done this and this and this and this, because you asked about insurance and retention. This is a documentation process. They can even share some of the HIZ recommendations that they've been recommended because they're in alignment with what insurance companies are asking for too. So
it is labor intensive. And I think going back to everything that everybody's been saying is we want the results now. So this is a slower process, but I think and this is just anecdotal, but my interactions with the public so far have been very validating that this is worth the effort, and that one-on-one, and then that resident tells someone else, and you can just see the light bulbs going off. It's pretty exciting.
You'll see an uptick in the fire season too, greater uptick, I think.
Oh,
With
maybe.
the recent
Yeah.
events and the fire
Yeah,
season,
I hope
think
so.
people might get really busy.
yeah, we do usually see a range of about 10 to 12 is what and that's actually what we throttled it at because of the bandwidth. That's one of the reasons we increased staffing also to help supplement that. But yeah, we should see that normal amount when the spring comes, when people want to start, getting this done. The only impact we have right now is the little bit of wait to schedule it. So schedule early if you want one, get in on the books early, insight message.
Does it make a difference? This is just a quick question. Does it make a difference, when it is the winter trees are bare, right? As opposed to having a full foliage in summer, there's more tree, foliage that you need to clear, more stuff work-wise, efficiency-wise.
Yeah, it's optimal to trim deciduous trees now. Actually, all trees do best in the cold because they don't sap as much on the evergreens.
And they don't get chopped.
And the ones that are deciduous are sleeping basically right now. So it is optimal to trim those. And that's what the message prior to this push, I was pushing the Firewise in my meetings, is this is a great time. Sign up for your HIZ if you need to do tree work, branches, trimming. This is a great time because your trees are sleeping. So, yeah.
So with your 4 people, what would you say is your steady state capacity in terms of doing inspections?
Well, so that's an excellent question. I think right now, we don't have any evacuation route program or projects going. And so Fire Safe
All the same
Council,
people.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
We double,
Double
sort of
dipping.
double duty.
Yeah.
So, and the Fire Safe Council is the same. We have Barbara Gonzalez, who, if you're on here, Barbara, she's been amazing. But she does evacuation routes. She does the chipper program. So this week she's doing chipping, or next week she's doing chipping, right?
This week.
Yeah. So, I mean, people are pulled in a lot of different directions. Right now, I have Ryan and Harmon, and Ryan is competitive. He's like,
No.
he is, yeah, he's racing to,
Yeah.
so he and I are neck and neck right now. But I would say right now with people not being on those projects, we're doing probably 5 to 8 each a week.
And you're part-time.
Yeah. Yeah, but I come over, I mean, I'm very efficient. I come over like I did a bunch before the meeting tonight, so.
She and Ryan.
Yeah, no, I know, yeah.
Yeah, and so that is something we're planning into. Right now, when I go talk to the communities that I'm going to be talking to in this next week, I'm telling them there's about a 2-month. Get yourself on the list, about 2 months, but you might get that last minute call. I'm in the area. Can you be available? So get on the list, but we're looking at, trying to, obviously, I'm still promoting. She's still getting signups. She's still gotten another.
Yeah, we're getting a steady anywhere from 1 to 5 every day.
So,
Yeah, it's still building.
so I may need to build a
20 month, I'm doing some math here.
Yeah.
And with 3,000 to 4,000 properties, then that's
looking for a tipping point.
4 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I would be surprised if this pace continued, but because right now we're capitalizing on sort of this top of mind concern. But yeah.
3% on that other Firewise community that I'm looking at, so that's what.
Yeah, that 3%.
And that was where I was trying to show you the graphic of the heat map, is because the Firewise are talking to each other and they're getting to sign up for HIZs.
So if we were oversubscribed, perhaps we could direct our efforts in terms of recruitment to those areas.
That's what our
Just like
goal is.
in the past, we had our tree removal process and we had 6 different zones.
Yeah.
So perhaps we could have either those same zones or different ones that maybe targeted our highest priority.
Yeah.
Yeah, fortunately, by just luck, the areas that I've always said are the ones that it doesn't take a fire scientist to predict where the biggest risks are. The people who have to travel the farthest have the biggest risk. That's easy. It's pretty easy. So those are the areas that we haven't had Firewise communities. Those are the areas that we don't have high HIZ. So again, how do we target that? Maybe we have a pilot program. We try some different things, whatever that things is that we haven't tried yet. Mailers aren't the answer. We know what it helps. It's neighbors telling neighbors is ultimately the biggest answer. Yeah.
So you
Gracie
could go, yeah, there you go. You go, so that's the semi-annual area of participation, a heat map, if you will, the next one actually. And this shows you, so this is San Antonio Hills, that's where we started. That 31 is actually the inspections that were conducted. They are the most, that's where we started. So this does show me that outreach does work, because they've been the longest in the know, if you will, as well as the outreach with the Firewise communities. Excuse me. So that just kind of gives you that view of it. Those aren't requests from this recent fire stuff. That's from before. So
Do you have any signs you can post in front of each property, kind of to say, this home has been having HIZ done?
I've noticed in your neighborhood, they have I'm a participant.
With the Firewise business,
Yeah.
the signs are.
The only thing is too, is we've always kept this a private thing, because they were afraid of the insurance companies possibly.
So it'd be self-report, it'd be optional.
Yeah, I mean, if they wanted to, I think I'd rather get a Firewise sign in front of their house than an HIZ sign, because I think the educational tool in Firewise is a bigger community reach. This HIZ only focuses on their own home. It's a little bit selfish. It's good, but it's not a community. It's not, your neighbor and your neighbor all getting together, so.
Such good questions.
Yeah.
If I can let me follow up on some HSD discussion, because one thing that came up at the Firewise meeting a week and a half ago stemmed from a report from Dave Stewart and Neil Mielke, who met with me on on, because they had read news about, and that they were, and Jim, but he couldn't come, but, so it's a topic of discussion that was brought up. And they were, Neil, and by the way, Dave, everyone knows Dave Stewart, big CERT volunteer, but also head of my Firewise. So he's right in the middle of the Firewise and stuff. They read that or the experience was in a couple of other towns, Truckee particularly, and in Marin, they're doing HIZs sort of differently, where it's some people call it opt out. I call it proactive. It's basically and it's kind of like they're structurally different in those towns. It's sort of the fire department doing essentially kind of like the weed assessments here. They're doing HIZs there. They're going out and hitting everybody, whether you like it or not. It's a push. Here's your HIZ report. And so sometimes people are home. It's kind of like, well, you're one of the people who have actually done the door-to-door, hey, can we, come help you? If the person's friendly, they'll come in, walk around, and do an HIZ. If they're not friendly, they'll kind of look, oh, I'm seeing this. You might want to know about this, but it's not punitive. And the reports they got were, hey, they got a lot of attention for it. And this, I think, the question that was raised is, hey, is this a way to get? Is kind of a blitzkrieg HIZ? Is there something does that spread education to a town faster? Now, I met and spent several hours with Neil and Dave, and I think there's some interesting ideas in it. I think it raised a lot of questions as well, and with the commission's approval, I would like to continue that discussion and actually work with them and kind of bring a report together and come back here about that. I'm not necessarily, so I'm not saying, hey, this is advocating, because structurally it's very different and there's some differences, but we can always learn something. And I think that it raises a number of interest in just talking with them. For me, it raised some underlying goals, like, okay, what are you trying to accomplish? Is this, what are the success rates you need to find? What is success? And we need to go talk to the people who did that in those communities and say, okay, you got to everybody, but how much mitigation did get done? In this case, I think what I'm hearing is that you're getting great results from people that they're reaching out to us, wanting HIZ. They're engaged. That they already have flipped that switch that I need to find out more about it. Now you're telling me I'm going to go do something about it. Is it another thing when you get something that's been put in your mailbox saying, hey, look at your property and you really ought to clear away your things? And the resourcing is also different from that point of view versus walking with someone and saying, hey, let me explain to you why you want to do this, or this is all you have to do. So there's a lot of differences and I don't want people to jump to it, but I also don't want to diffuse the very positive energy that say, hey, are there other techniques that can spread this kind of knowledge more? So
let me tell you, 96% of residents in Silicon Valley Clean Energy are participants, and it would never have happened if it were an opt-in program. It was an opt-out program. And so now this could be a flood that we can't manage, and there's ways, I've already heard some ideas from you about how we could subdivide it all, that make it manageable and targeted, and I think that sounds like really promising.
And that's why one of the ideas, one more comment is to potentially do, without affecting our ongoing things, do some sort of small little pilot, like, what happens if you go in this neighborhood and try it? What would you get? Now, but that doesn't mean some planning, like, okay, what are we going to do when someone has a gate? What are we going to do when someone has this situation? Dogs, all the same things that everyone else who does door-to-door stuff. And we've also, there are a lot of structural differences. So I want to spend time first saying, let's go find out what they did and how they dealt with those questions. What's different about ours? And then and make a reasonable pilot that might teach us something about that. It does raise the basic goals of, is an HIZ, and not to be answered here, I'm sorry to waste everyone's time on a long night, but what are the goals? Is it to spread education? Is it to achieve a certain coverage of is it an every man for himself type program, or is it a town safety program where you need to achieve a certain strategic coverage of reduction to make a difference? What's
like
enough?
Vaccinations.
I'm sorry?
Like vaccinations.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
minimum percent to participation to have, community,
yes,
protection.
are we trying to achieve
I don't know if it fits, but I kind of like the idea.
So, but I think those basic questions come up whenever you talk about this. How are you gonna measure something better or worse? You need to say, what are we trying to achieve?
Yeah.
Is it, do we need a certain amount of area covered? Do we need strategic areas more than others? I'm not trying to answer all those questions, but I do want to follow up. I'm gonna continue working with them. I'll take these questions and put a report together for the commission and come back with what's different about, we'll go talk to those two places and see if they're different. And bring back some information on that style to keep the discussion flowing about, we want to keep this thing going. And,
Question for you. Do you intend to make this formalized like an ad hoc subcommittee or?
Yeah, I really thought.
Just you, that's fine.
I thought about that because I talked with General Manager Logan and talked with Aaron, just sort of say, here's what I want to do. What's the way to do it?
Yeah.
Not needed yet. I'm going to continue working with Dave and Neil to sort of put together an initial question list. How do we go out, bring some information back, and then let the commission decide, what needs to go forward. Just get some information on, because it's interesting, but right now we're dealing with essentially anecdotal headlines of articles. We don't really have information and the thought process of what's different about it. We already have evidence of, every evacuation route, they go hit every single door. And but they're not just saying, hey, let's give you information. They're saying, we'll do some work for you. We're here. Do you mind? This patient rate is very low. So in some ways, our anecdotal evidence is that hitting everyone's door doesn't always get people interested, so we.
Yeah, but there's also, they feared what it meant. And I think the HIZ tells you what you have to do. And so that takes that uncertainty.
No, that's part of it. Now, I'm going to address a little more because this is a good conversation. Part of that is, that when you knock on someone's door, that confusion about we're here to assess your property. The wording of this is very important because, the fire department comes by, we just talked about, to look at your property, and they're going to give you a notice where you got to comply.
Yeah.
How do we keep those separate? That, we're here just to help you and look around. Those guys are here to look around and potentially, penalize you. This is where there's confusion built in structurally, which is different from those programs where they don't have that already punitive program in place. Look, you said Los Altos, they got a whole meeting full of angry people. If the messaging is not right, we could go do this, and you'd have people going, wait, you're from who? Wait, I don't want to be on that program. I've heard about that list.
Plus,
So
the town has no solicitation. That's another thing. People get alarmed if someone just.
we've just spent a few years telling everyone, you be really careful about anyone who walks up to your property. And so, if someone comes to my front door, I call the police first. Because no one comes to our area. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to be a naysayer. I'm saying it's an interesting thing. I think there are structural differences, but let's go figure out what they are and see if any of them are overcomable. Or, is this a way? And obviously we're not structured to go send our very high value resources out to just everybody willy-nilly, because right now we're going after the people who are raising their hand and saying, I'm interested. But I want to follow up on this because we do want to follow up with the positive energy of wanting to spread this and see what ideas might work. So.
Give a new name, friendly fire, a new meaning in friendly fire.
And Roger, I just know one thing with all the outreach that I do is definitely the engaged learner. I mean, Victoria showed the numbers of teen certs that want to come in and sign up. The engaged learner, that this is a teaching event. This HIZ is an educational experience. And that engaged learner that comes to you with that open mind is definitely more receptive and probably will take action more than the person that, like you said, is compelled because we tell you you have to do so. It's just a different mindset. And I think that's really where we, continue to have a very positive outlook and they accomplish the goals that we want to do, which is ultimately mitigation. So, yeah.
And we all know firsthand what it is to do inspections for county fire. We did those.
All right.
And it's the windshield survey, because
Yeah.
you cannot get on the property. This is like 20-fold better. It's amazing, to be able to walk and have someone that's engaged and they're excited to get the report.
Mhm.
It's completely different experience. So it's not at the scale and as fast as everyone wants it to be, but I think it is definitely super effective.
But the other thing is that
what I've seen.
certainly having had an HIZ myself, there's no way that anyone could have seen from the door the
Yeah.
things that were shown to me. And so it's, you know, is it really an HIZ for the level of what we're trying to point out?
Yeah, exactly.
And also I'm sure that the rules coming down from the state related to the maps that are going to be coming out are going to be affecting our
Yes.
codes. That's actually one of the other elements of discussion is that some of our town building codes are work against what we're asking people to do in terms of both removing vegetation, putting down gravel, you know, there are limitations. There's a lot of little things that we're sort of figuring out where are the friction points for people both learning about what to do and then accomplishing what to do.
You know, if you transfer that 0 to 5 into non-combustible, it could possibly measure against your, what is it, MSD or MDS? The maximum
MDA.
gel
Yeah.
space,
Yeah.
yeah. Developed area, yeah. It actually right now could make them be over on their MDA if they remove
Yeah,
that.
corresponding forest gravel goes against MDA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there might be some other places that we need to get fixed first before we lean into a lot of this other part, so.
Yeah.
Again.
So
I must be in real trouble because I've done exactly that.
Well, there's the ask for forgiveness or permission syndrome. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we can ask for forgiveness instead of permission. There is that syndrome until someone reports you. No harm, no foul.
So you'll hear more about this, proactive, opt-out sort of scheme more. We'll come back with more information on that. Okay,
Thank you
moving
so
on.
much.
All right.
Thank you.
Oh, we're at the end of 7B. Any public comments?
Mark?
No, I was gonna make a suggestion that loving this conversation, but we're coming up on 9:30.
Yeah.
I would suggest we take 7C and 7D and move them to March. So that we can get through the budget work that we need to do tonight. And the personnel actions we need to do tonight, 8, 9, and 10.
Tell you what, let's, we did start half an hour late, and why don't we move?
Let's ask county council first if that can be done off.
I would suggest first, why don't you just move 7, we can take a motion and maybe move 7C and D beyond to the end and see how much time we have to try and get it in for this evening.
I'm loving the conversation. We haven't had a conversation like this
Yeah.
as a staff or as a
We need more
team.
conversations going forward
Right,
with their
and-
reports.
And a table
They both
actually
good,
helps.
but-
I think the table helps too, I agree.
And it's fantastic and it's a great conversation, but it is coming up on 9:30.
Yeah.
I need lots of beauty right now.
Yeah, let me talk to Jay. I mean, I don't know if we can,
Oh, look at you.
if we're willing to delay 7C and D, big on to just move on
I
to.
think we have a public
Yeah,
comment.
we do a public comment.
Sorry, we gotta. Before you speak, we have to be careful here, because we have 3 council members. Typically, I'm told, I'm not a Brown Act Brown Act expert. Even speaking as individual, when I was part of the council, when I was attending meetings with 2 other council members, I was told, you may listen, but stay back and do not make anything. But I'm gonna let the other 2 council members.
It has to be completely separate from anything as we as a council would decide.
And given that you're gonna have stuff coming up for you.
And I don't know if that should be boundaries.
I just want to say thank you for considering the opt-out.
Any other public comments? Let me ask Aaron, if we want to, there's been a request to do an agenda change at this point to at least, let's push 7C and D back. Maybe we'll get to it, maybe we won't, in the interest of time. Moving on to item 8 for finance reports.
We gotta get
Let me
those.
get a motion, kind of a motion to that?
Seeing that I proposed it, I
Yeah.
move that we push, change of order to the agenda, to move 7C and 7D to the end of the agenda.
No, sorry.
Seconds.
Great.
A strong second.
Okay, any public comment on change of agenda there? Seeing none, okay.
Hold on, I lost my, make sure there's no public comment, no public
We're all in
comment.
person, so we can just acclaim.
Yes.
We can, I'm sorry, we can,
We don't have to do a formal like roll call vote.
let me ask Aaron,
It's general.
is it okay as a change of agenda? Does that require a vote or can is a,
Are we holding to March or are we,
I'm pushing it to
just
the
moving
end.
to the end of this meeting?
Time's left and we may bump it, but I'm, for now, I just want to move it to the end.
Sure, that's
In
fine.
case everything else goes quickly.
Sure. I think that can be done, should be done by vote, sure, through a.
It should be
And
done.
since you all are still recording, I would do it by roll call since you're
Okay,
recording the meeting.
No roll call. Yeah.
Number 8 is,
Corey, we need a roll call.
yeah, I'm sorry.
I thought you were.
I'm
It's not on the script.
trying to do too much, exactly. Okay, President Spreen?
Yes.
Vice President McDonald?
Yeah.
Commissioner Basiji?
Yeah.
Commissioner Kadambi?
Yes.
Commissioner Tonka?
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson? Commissioner Warren?
Yes.
All right, and that motion passes 7-0.
Moving on to item 8, finance reports. Finance Manager Moyala, if you could please present this.
Sure, thank you, and I'll try to make this quick in the essence of time. I think the item before us now is the budget. We're waiting for that to be put on the screen.
Oh.
Yes, this is the final draft budget for 2025-26. We've had, I think, a total of 4 meetings up to this point on this item. And tonight I'll try to make it brief as a follow-up to our last discussion as well. Next slide, please. The items before you tonight are really we are asking for action. We're asking for approval of the final draft budget, in particular, asking the commission to authorize submission of what we call Exhibit A. And Exhibit A is basically the line items. It's every single line item. We provide that to OBA, and that kickstarts the whole entire review process at the county. And we will be providing that to the county tomorrow, February 19th. You do have this evening the final draft budget narrative, but I would remind the commission that we really don't approve that until the end of June when we hear back from the county, but you have it in front of you and it encompasses all the numbers and all the write-ups. And you also have the work plan service areas, which again is essentially just an addendum in the end result. Next slide, please. Tonight, my mission really is encapsulated in this slide. I really want to talk about what's changed since the last meeting, which I can tell you in advance, not very much, but we have gotten some really good information from the county. I want to take this presentation and present the OBA lens. By the OBA, I mean the County Office of Budget and Analysis, and I want to present it as if they were looking at it. We're looking at it through their eyes as well. And General Manager Logan and I have discussed this many times in terms of what they're looking at now at this point and what happens beyond tonight. And then we'll talk about next steps. So that's really the essence of the discussion this evening. There have been some changes. They're modest, but we've made 2 small adjustments, and they happen to be both in the area of finance in this particular area. As you saw tonight on the consent agenda, you had the new audit contract. There was a fee increase there. Fee increase mostly because of just a normal fee increase, but we also expect some enhanced services during the audit process. Why? Because we have more staff, we're implementing more systems, we're developing standard operating procedures. So we put in the budget essentially that fee increase, which is about $13,000. We put a little bit of a cushion in there as well. We have received additional costing estimates on what we call an online budgeting portal and public transparency portal. We had it in there for about, I believe, $35,000. We increased that by $20,000. So in essence, about a $35,000 cost increase in allocations from last time. And that's out of about a $22 million budget. So I would say modest in those areas. What we did do is we reduced our transfers from the general fund to the newly proposed community infrastructure fund by $275,000. And as we considered this and we had more discussion, is that we really don't know what the final costing yet is on I-280. Those RFPs will be going out over the course of the next several months. Once we have that number, we'll be more in line with as to whether or not that contingency needs to be directly put in this separate fund. So we're keeping it available under general contingency, and it could be used for I-280. It could potentially be used in other areas, potentially HIZ, because it's a project contingency. So we move that out of the transfer. That's not an allocation change. It's just reducing the transfers. I did forget one adjustment here that I made. It was $67,500 also reduced reductions. I forgot to put it on this slide. We took two items in our discussion with the county, in particular Starlink, which was the bulk of it, $60,000. In our discussions with the county, they indicated, we don't consider that a fixed asset. We consider that a subscription. So we basically moved that to a subscription line item and took it out of the transfers. Okay. So that, in essence, are the number changes that you'll see this evening. Next slide, please. You've seen this before, and nothing's changed. That $35,000 does not change these percentages. 73% of all dollars are going towards life and property safety. Next slide, please. This, in essence, is what we are. We have a $22.17 million allocation budget. We have revenues of $18.2 million, planned use of funds of $3.9 million. Last time the transfer to the newly proposed fund was about 19.6. It's now 19.3. Everything else stayed the same. I will mention that in our discussions with the county, and as we know, as we embark beyond tonight, the whole process moves over to county review. It is our aspiration that they will opine and agree with our request that we create a new fund. And it is also our aspiration they will agree with our proposed transfer of dollars into that fund, but we won't know. We won't know till June. We will continue to have discussions with them between now and June. We're hoping that this will be the end result, but we really won't know within the next 2 or 3 months or so. But this is what we're proposing to the county, and this is what we're hoping they will ultimately approve. We realize that proposing that new fund is a big model change. We realize that proposing the new transfers is another change as well. So Jay Logan and I will be discussing this with the county at length over the next several months, and that's what we hope will be the end result. Next slide, please. Ultimately, nothing's changed here. The numbers changed nominally. If the new fund is ultimately approved, it will result in an unassigned fund balance of $8.7 million. The new fund will carry in it $15.3 million, the essence of which, most of which, is the potential of a new fire facility. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, committed funds, which that number will not change, is $18.2 million as well. That's what it would look like at the end of the year. Next slide, please. So now I want to take a look at how the county looks at this process beyond this point. There's really 3 main phases. And it's very interesting, and it's very prudent what the county does in terms of how they look at the budget. Their first step, which is the arrow mark on the top, is they first define what is a base budget. And in the county's mind, the base budget is last year's budget, but taking out last year's one-time requests and also adding in operational baseline increases. So that's the first number that we now, in our discussions with the county, will derive. And obviously it's a prudent approach because they want to make sure there's not budget creep, over time. So that's step 1. We're in those discussions right now with the county. We also break down our budget from a county's perspective into what we call one-time requests. In other words, dollars that will not be repeated in the future. So obviously, one item that they consider like that might be the $2.7 million for I-280, even though that's a 5-year project. They understand it's a 5-year project, but they will consider 2.7 one time, and then we'll discuss with them next year, well, how has that number evolved? And then they also want us to isolate for them ongoing requests. So these are new items, but they will continue because they have a duration to them as well. So as we have these discussions with the county, Jay and I in particular, we will break these into 3 areas for them, and they will opine on them in these 3 different categories. So that's what happens beyond today. I'll try to describe this now in numbers as well. Next slide, please. Baseline adjustments. Baseline adjustments is what we believe, and I believe they're pretty sure that the county will say, well, these are adjustments to last year's budget that we will allow you to add into last year's budget because they're operational in nature. And what these essentially are things that you really can't avoid. It's the COLA on the fire contract. It's the normal growth on our salaries. It also is county increases to their legal support fees. And I even put in there the annual audit contract increase. Now, the county, here's an example. The county may say, well, I don't consider that $18,000 as baseline. They may consider that new. These are the discussions that we will have with the county. But right now, from my standpoint, these changes right here, we will discuss with the county as being baseline. Go ahead and add it on to next year as our starting point. And so that's what we'll do. I won't go through what we've taken out from last year, but there's some significant dollars that we were reduced from last year. And you know what those are. Mostly they're fixed assets, and in particular, the very large $1 million in I-280. But that's understood that those would be taken out. So that's the first bucket. Next slide, please. One-time requests, I mentioned to the commission in a different way, but from a county standpoint, we'll be arguing that these are one-time requests. $2.7 million on I-280. We put in a professional services increase because of all the work that you heard about today, that we have a growing staff. We have new models. There's growing demand, the Southern California fires. Even though we believe we need these dollars, the county will look at this as one time and they'll evaluate it from a one-time standpoint, and they'll determine whether or not it goes into that ongoing or not. But we'll probably start with this as being one time. The pilot program for the roadside grass mitigation mowing program, updated costs for the programmatic EIR, Starlink. These are all things that they may consider to be one time. So as you remember the meeting from last time when we talked about the budget in full, none of these numbers have changed, but they're now categorized as to how the county views them. Next slide, please. Ongoing requests, we believe, are made up of the following. We put additional contingency dollars into projects and programs. We're going to argue that that's ongoing just because the demand is there and we're seeing growth. So we're going to argue that that's ongoing. General professional and service and legal services, not only legal, but general professional services. We're going to request that this be considered ongoing. Remember, we first had a tact to increase staff. We slowed that down, we ratcheted that back, and we're really essentially replacing that with contract services and professional services. So we'll really strive very strongly to make the argument that these should be ongoing increases. Palo Alto, Station 8, we're going to argue that should be ongoing because of fire safety. Temporary employees for the same reason that I just argued. And then staff development costs, we're going to argue that that's continuing, that it needs to continue. And additionally, we are anticipating a subscription for an online budgeting tool. The vision there is that what we're doing right now in Excel and financial systems in the future will be available to all staff through a web portal. They'll be able to create their budgets and see their budgets from home, if they will, and monitor their tracking. That's the vision. So we put in subscription for that. Next slide, please. So this is how the math works. If we took all those items and added it up, from what the best I can tell right now in our discussions with the county, their baseline will be about 17.4 million. So out of our 22.17, their baseline will be 17.4. The one-time requests will be in the nature of around $4 million, and the ongoing requests will be about $800,000. We won't know for sure. Jay and I won't know for sure until we get into these deep discussions with the county in the next few days. But we think that's where we're headed, and we think that's the starting point. As I mentioned last year, of course, I have to mention this cautionary note, if you will. Really, everything past that base budget is up to the county to approve. And so we are hoping for the best that we get through all three bases and make it to home plate. That's simply what we're hoping for. And next slide, please. I would remind this commission that behind the scenes, outside of this base budget, there are roll forwards that have already been approved by the county. The county has approved the roll forward of the the fire equipment, the fire engines and the fire trucks, and also fixed assets. So these are solid. These roll forwards are solid, and what we have to do is monitor them up through June, and then if we have to request that we roll forward again, we will make that same request. And with that, I think, next slide. Let's not forget about revenues. It's very interesting. Up to this point, the county has not put into our base budget the new revenues. The new revenue numbers are mostly from the county, so we suspect a high probability of success here. But at this point, they have not added it in. But if they do add it in, it's about $1.7 million added on to last year's base. And I'm pretty sure this number will be put in pretty administratively at this point. And with that, let's see. Next steps. The narrative, if this commission approves it, the narrative we give to the county, not as an approved document, but informationally, so they understand our story. We will give them Exhibit A, and they will put that into their systems. They had a preliminary Exhibit A from last meeting, but they knew it was just preliminary. This will solidify our numbers. And then we move on to the process, which goes all the way through June. And it starts with review, staff working with OBA, reviewing, reconciling, classifying. May is when the recommended budget will come out. June is when the budget hearings take place, and June is when the budget adoption of the county takes place. We will keep this commission apprised as we get information each month and as we get closer. And with that, I think we're done. That is questions.
Any public comments or questions? Seeing none? Okay.
There might be.
Is there?
There might be.
Yep.
I don't know.
You can take my seat. So
Just getting your voice on the. Yeah.
I don't want to repeat some of the comments that I've made previously. We'll just kind of get them, just sort of high points. There are quite a number of items which, in my opinion, are deck chair type items, and not essential type items for this size organization. $30,000 for transparency. Well, where's the people who want to see the transparency in the financial system? This organization produces financial numbers that are far in excess of any organization that I attend, either the county or the town in terms of transparency. So there's plenty of transparency as far as the financial information is concerned. I mentioned about the $18,000 of additional expense associated with the auditors. I just don't see a necessity for those types of things. $28,000 for printers. I mean, people don't print things very much anymore. Why do we need to buy $28,000 worth of printers for the staff to have at their home? There's just a lot of examples like that. I mentioned the question about the PEIR. It's increasing by another $250,000. It isn't even clear that the PEIR is necessary. I asked you to take a look at that and see whether or not there's a need for that. But those are just some of the comments that I have. I think the team has done an excellent job in terms of presenting the information to you and the understanding of the process associated with it. But I just think there's an awful lot of padding that's going on, it's taking place. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate the time. Any other public comments?
See any?
Let's see. Thank you. So the entire finance team for this, and I will entertain a motion to approve the fiscal year 26 final draft budget and authorize submission of this fiscal year 26 final draft budget Exhibit A to the county office of budget and analysis. That is the middle picture he had in his last slide there. We need a motion in a second.
Do we need to include C and D receive the budget narrative?
We're going to get to that.
Those are actually, no,
That's
those are just, you're receiving them. You're
Okay,
not actually approving them until June.
All right, so Warren moves to approve the FY 2025-2026 final draft budget and authorize submission of said budget, final draft budget Exhibit A to the Santa Clara County Office of Budget and Analysis, OBA, on February 19th, 2025.
And
I'll second.
thank you. Any discussion? Public comment? And let's vote.
Roll call. Okay. President Spreen.
Yes.
Vice President McDonald.
Yes.
CG is gone. Commissioner Kadambi.
Yes.
Commissioner Tonka.
Yeah.
Commissioner Tyson.
Yes.
Commissioner Warren.
Yeah.
And the motion passes 6-0 with one absent.
Thank you. Moving on to item 9, the CalCard presentations. Finance Manager Morale also presenting this item.
Okay. So this item was brought to the commission's attention, and I apologize, it's been a long time. It was first brought to the commission's attention in April of 2024. And at that time, we introduced the concept of moving to a new credit card procurement card system for the district. We are there now this evening, at least for your consideration. It's taken us this long to get there. There was a lot to consider. And I want to say, Serena's at home tonight, and she was feeling a little under the weather, but we could have not have gotten there without Serena. Her tremendous help in getting to this point, discussion with Serena, discussion with Corey, and developing this. Also, County Council, I should almost put their name on this as well, because they have been so integral to this process and helping us develop a policy and helping us put together a resolution and all of that. So what we have before you tonight, if we go to the next slide, is really we want to present what the CalCard program is all about. We want to also adopt a resolution, and this resolution is critical because what it does, it rescinds all the prior resolutions that were related to credit cards that were issued. If you might recall that in the past, we essentially came to this commission and provided a resolution every time there was a new individual that needed a card. The resolution that we have before you tonight has continuity to it. It's one master resolution. It need not be edited once we add employees, and it gives us something that will endure over time. At the same time, so it's rescinding several other resolutions, but it's also asking authorization for the general manager to administer the P card program. And also, the resolution is establishing credit limits that are established by this commission. And this commission has the sole authority to set those upper limits as well. And then approve the authority to the general manager that beyond the establishment of limits, that we can make operational changes to the policy, but never change the limits. So that in essence is what we're asking for this evening. And also to authorize the general manager to execute the contracts with CalCard beyond this evening to actually implement the program. Next slide, please. And I realize in particular, I've presented these new procurement cards to several agencies in my career. I realize it's a big step. It's a big step, but I will say in advance, it's a really important step that I think overall does many different things. It strengthens our internal controls, and it also helps us make the procurements and purchases that we need to operate much more effectively than we can now. What is the goal? It's really to accommodate the district's small dollar, non-contract based purchases. But the system also allows us to quickly validate credit limits and track credit limits, not just from one viewpoint, but it will allow all card holders and all managers the complete transparency to see the activity on cards at any one point in time on a 24/7 basis. Also, this resolution does something very different that we've not done before with the current credit card program. It allows for emergency purchases in the case of a declared emergency. And so it allows us to shift quickly should a declared emergency take place to purchase more when we need more. Now, again, limits set by the commission, but it allows us to address emergencies when they're declared. I'll get into that a little bit more. Next slide, please. Why the change? CalCard, if you may be familiar with CalCard, but it really is the preeminent government model nationally and in the state of California. The CalCard systems are time tested. They're highly responsive. They're highly respected. And in the words of our auditor, when we mentioned that we were going to implement CalCard, he said, well, that's one of the strongest procurement card systems you could have. And I know that personally as well, as former finance directors with other agencies. It's a very, very strong model, simply because everything is visible and trackable 24/7. Also, the current limits we have right now with Wells Fargo are very restricted and much lower beyond, we believe, lower than what we need. And the model just does not accommodate what we're trying to do right now in terms of small dollar purchases. So that's why the change. Next slide, please. There is congruence also. We were happy to learn that the county uses the CalCard system, and they use it to a remarkable extent. You can see the volume that they use for the cards as well. Our volume is going to be much, much less, of course. But it doesn't surprise me that the county uses the CalCard system just because it has such a great reputation and it's such a strong model. Also, I'm here to say that we have worked extensively, and I know Aaron is listening, hours working with Aaron, and he has fully reviewed the resolution with the underlying state-based contracts, and he's worked with us directly on developing the district policy. And the district policy is very congruent and similar to the county, simply, well, for many reasons, but also both policies are based upon a template that CalCard recommends. And so we use that as the basic template. Next slide, please. What is CalCard? I'll go through this quickly. It's basically, it's registered in the state of California's purchasing card program. It's used by the county of Santa Clara. It's underpinned by Visa. So that's the underpinning of the CalCard. It allows for great flexibility in terms of making small dollar purchases. It's being used by many, many state and local agencies. So that in essence is CalCard. US Bank is the bank behind the scenes as well. US Bank is part of the CalCard. There wouldn't be a CalCard without the US Bank being the sponsoring bank for it. Okay, policy elements. The policy is long. It's 16.
Suggest
Yes.
we move faster.
Okay.
We read this.
Okay. I won't go through this. The policy has all the elements of it. I would say in particular, the limits are important to look at. And we'll show you that in a minute. Let's see what else. I won't go through the elements here, but essentially we define the limits in the policy. We defined how it should be used. We also, the cards are issued in the names of the card holders. And the policy is going to be acknowledged by all the users, and there will be formal training given to all card holders in the city, in the district. Next slide, please. These are the limits that we're asking the district to approve. I would like to read in one change this evening, though, but let me go through the limits here, and I'll read in the change. Single transaction limits are listed there, and they're listed by position now. They're not listed by individual anymore. Okay, so you can see the single card limits. That means any one card swipe. The maximum monthly credit limits are listed here as well. For the card holder, it's $1,500. For the district clerk, it's $5,000. I'll explain that in a minute. Emergency services manager, it's $10,000 for one card. Other service managers is $5,000 for 3 cards, and the general manager is $15,000. That adds up to $48,000. We believe that's the level that we need to manage our operations. I would like to read into the record, though, in the resolution that I realized this evening that our card holders for $1,500 should actually be three cards. I realize that because of the vehicles that we purchased and the need to have that fuel card. So I would like to read into the record this evening when we get to that point that the total maximum monthly will increase to $49,500, and the cards issued will be 3. Although the resolution doesn't mention the number of cards, but the $49,500 would be the maximum limit. Okay. Next slide, please. Also, this policy is proposing a declared emergency limits. In the case of a declared emergency, which is defined as a declaration by the county and at the state level, we're proposing that the single transaction limits increase to $10,000. The maximum monthly credit limit of any one card holder could go to $20,000, and the cumulative monthly limit would go to $85,000. These limits are temporary. They would be temporary and as defined by the general manager and by the declaration of the emergency. But this is a new element that we don't even have now proposed in this particular policy and this resolution. Okay, so 49,005 typically on a monthly basis. In the case of emergency, as advised by the general manager to the commission, potentially 85,000 per month in the case of an emergency. That's it. Next slide. These are the key documents. We have the resolution for your approval. We have the policy for your approval. And then beyond this point, we will move on to the contracting, of course, but training and manual development. The implementation of this will take 45 to 60 days. And if you read the resolution carefully, it indicates that the effective date is based upon the signing, not only the signing of the contract, but when the program is implemented. Because keep in mind that we have two things going on here. The Wells Fargo program will exist until the CalCard program takes over, and there will be a little bit of an overlap. We expect this to be in place by April 30th of 2025. That's our anticipation on the CalCard program. So that, I think we're there. Yes, execute the contract, complete the operations manual, hold training, implement by April 30th, and then pay off the final Wells Fargo balances somewhere after April, probably with the May payment. And that, I think, is the end of the presentation.
Comments?
I believe this is what we carry in all the fire engines when we travel, all of this.
It is. You're very familiar with them.
Yes.
Yes.
Water.
Okay, let's see, can we hear, thank you very much. I will entertain a motion for item 9B to adopt resolution 20. You have a question?
No, it's a comment and that motion that you're looking for. So just as a former manager of P-card system for a corporation, I applaud the efficiency of a P-card system when well designed, and appreciate the coordination with the county for best practices implementation, and wish to propose that we adopt resolution as listed as 9B with the addition of the $49,500 maximum for, as you read into the record, for the normal operation.
And C as well.
And item
Do
9C.
together, yeah.
And also item C, approve the delegation of authority as noted here.
Yes, I wonder if I can ask Aaron if does that satisfy the read-in, Aaron?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
Warren seconds. Any discussion? Any public comment on this?
Start public.
Seeing none, then we can move on to a roll call.
Okay, President Spreen?
Yes.
Vice President McDonald? Commissioner, no, he's not here. Commissioner Katabi?
Yes.
Commissioner Tonka?
Yeah.
Commissioner Tyson?
Yes.
Commissioner Warren?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0 with one absent.
Thank you so much.
We're gonna move on to item 10 personnel. I can tell, by the way, that we're not gonna be able to come back to items 7, C, and D this evening, just to make sure. So, yeah.
Fortunately, 10 items 10 have the things that need to be read.
Yeah, it kind of has to be
For
read,
the
so but we're all
record, so,
familiar
yeah.
with this, and we, General Manager Logan, if you would introduce these items.
Yes, pleased to do so. Agenda item 10A and 10B. Corey, can you put me up okay? Are to discuss and take possible action to approve the proposed Fourth Amendment to the Community Education and Risk Reduction Manager Employment Agreement and the proposed Fourth Amendment to the Part-Time Temporary Project Specialist Employment Agreement. The proposed amendments to the two employment agreements are included in the District Board of Commissions agenda materials. California Government Code Section 4953C3 requires the commission to orally report a summary of the proposed compensation before taking final action to adopt that compensation here by approving the employment agreement amendments. Key components of the proposed compensation are described in detail in the proposed amendments. I will now summarize personnel item 10A. The proposed Fourth Amendment to the At-Will Part-Time Community Education Risk Reduction Manager Employment Agreement includes the following compensation. Wages, the proposed Fourth Amendment sets the rate of pay at $102 per hour, $102 per hour, not to exceed $127,296 on an annual basis effective March 1st, 2025. If the district offers a retirement plan or a health benefit plan, the employee will be eligible to enroll in such plans. All other compensation and benefits, including sick leave, vehicle stipend, and uniform allowance, remain unchanged. I recommend approval. Thank you. And I turn that over for a vote.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Seeing none, any public comments?
No.
Seeing none, let's take a roll call.
Oh, we need a motion. and-
Oh, motion.
Warren seconds.
Tonka and Warren.
Okay, roll call is President Spring,
Yes.
Vice President McDonald.
Yes.
Commissioner Kadambi.
Yes.
Commissioner Tonka.
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson.
Yes.
Commissioner Warren.
Yes.
And the motion passes 6-0 with one absent.
Okay, and moving on, the proposed Fourth Amendment extends the term of an at-will, part-time temporary project specialist employment agreement to February 28th, 2026. Revises the hours of work, adjusts the compensation to $33 per hour, effective March 1st, 2025, for an amount not to exceed $43,748 for the term of the agreement, with no additional changes to compensation or sick leave benefits. I recommend approval. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions, discussions? Seeing none, I'll take a motion.
Warren moves.
Donald seconds. Thank you. Any public comments? Seeing none, let's take a roll call.
Is it too fast for me? President Spring.
Yes.
Vice President McDonald. Commissioner Kadambi.
Yes.
Commissioner Tonka. Commissioner Tyson.
Yes.
Commissioner Warren.
Yes.
And the motion passes 6-0, one absent.
Thank you very much. Moving on to an item that we don't want to speed past, item 11, District Clerk Report, because it's important.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I've prepared. I'm going to tell the whole history of the Form 700. Yeah, do you have a PowerPoint? Yeah, let me pull up the PowerPoint. Yeah. Oh, okay, well, so we have 18, it includes commissioners, select staff, consultants, and of those 18, 12 of you, I'm not gonna look at anybody, but 12 of you have submitted your form, so congratulations. That is due, well, except for you, yeah, you have a different due date because you're assuming office, but everyone else, August 1st of 2025.
April.
Oh,
April 1st.
August, can I go?
No, I'm sorry, yeah, you, so no extensions, and it is mandatory, for public transparency. So if you ever have any questions, you let me know if you didn't.
Should we come back to, I got some email saying there was some changes.
To mine?
The city council email, did you get?
I
that?
didn't get any. I didn't get that.
I thought it was just like
Yeah,
I
no.
got
a
it,
couple
I-
check
I haven't
boxes.
gotten a notice about the
I
city
get them as-
council yet,
I did get it,
but I submitted it anyway.
okay.
You got my notice though. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, yours was easy.
Thank you.
So
I designed it that way.
Great.
Yep, that's all.
Everyone get those reports in. Okay, by April 1st. Anything else?
April 1st, yeah, not August 1st.
Thank you so much. Let's see, we don't need to, you don't need public comment on that item? I don't
Yeah,
think
no, I
so.
think so, okay.
We'll move on to item 12, which remember, reports,
So I-
which there.
Oh.
Oh,
I was gonna ask actually, so if are we taking an official vote to move item 7C and 7D to the next meeting? Aaron, how will that work?
The recommended action will be to hold those items.
Correct.
And I actually don't, think we need a vote. That can be done by the, well, I'm sorry, let me not say that. I guess it can be by a vote to hold those two items.
you have a motion to hold item 7C and D until next meeting? We have a motion by
Second.
Tyson, second by Tonka.
Okay.
Any discussion? Public comment? Seeing none, let's take a roll call.
Okay, President Spring,
Yes.
Vice President
Yeah.
McDonald, Commissioner Kadambi.
Yes.
Commissioner Tonka.
Yeah.
Commissioner Tyson.
Yeah.
Commissioner Warren.
Yes.
That's it for-
That's 6-0 with one absent.
Okay,
Right.
All right, now you go, yeah.
item 12A, commission member reports. Does anyone have any future agenda items? they wanna
They just
add?
created.
Apart from that one?
Yeah, we have to,
Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
7C.
Any others? Not seeing any others. I don't think there's anything else to discuss in commission member reports. I'm gonna move to item 12B. The next regular commission meeting, is scheduled for March 18th, 2025, in person and hybrid. And, actually, typically it would be there. Do we like doing it here at the table? Is that something you want to make a request for?
If this works, then we'd love it.
Yeah, we're gonna have to check the technology.
There you go. We've had a consensus request to do it here at the table. So we'll figure out how to do that, how to make it for staff.
Conversation.
Okay,
It's not too much extra effort for staff to
Well,
make
we
this
also
work
have
here.
our System to.
exactly, that's true. We
did
have our own
purchase
out
analysis
system,
to
so.
make- This will be a backup for us.
Okay, so that'll be here in the town hall chambers in this, hopefully at the table. Let's see, I don't think the Anything else there? In that case, let's move to item 13, adjournment. This concludes the February 18th, 2025 regular meeting of Los Altos Hills County Fire District. The meeting is adjourned at 10:05 p.m. Please stop the recording.
Woohoo.
Thank you, everybody, for late. I know it was a late start.